Well, rain definitely sucks.
Yep, it does.
Always.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Mhm.
today was the last day of Hanukkah, so
Oh
I'm
yeah.
happy. Christmas
So
is
does that
rolling
mean
around now.
you have to like sit through Christmas, or do you like part? Because I mean, I know your significant
Mm,
other is
I partake in it.
So
We're
how
both
does
okay.
Jewish.
how does Hanukkah work for you guys? Like you said, you have a menorah, right?
Yeah, we do. So it's covered in wax right now, but
It's
this is our
it was
menorah.
right. It was right there.
Yeah,
Of
yep.
course,
There
it
you
was
go.
right
How
here.
come it's not lit for the last day, dude?
Candles already burnt out, and the sun's already gone
Ah,
down. Ah,
that's
Oh,
how it
see,
works.
see,
after the
guys.
prayers, and
Yeah.
technically, I'm breaking tradition and rules right now because I'm on social media, and you're supposed to turn off all your lights and spend time with your family and
Oh,
do the Sabbath as well. But
What are you
you know,
talking about? We're
modern times.
family here, dude.
yeah.
Yeah, there
Ben
you go.
Shapiro would be mad at you.
I am, oh, dude. Ben Shapiro would call me one of the sinning dudes. I'm definitely not one of the good ones. That's for sure.
And we're recording, and we're back with another episode of
Wow.
Panther Airsoft Holding Table Talk, guys. This is
Wow.
episode 27. I know I'm really bad at telling you guys when I start.
No, you're good at this. This is what
Good,
that's the problem.
good. Episode 27, and we have our guest David, who just put on a shades.
Oh yeah, baby. All speed. All
For
speed all the
speed.
time.
I got a need
For
for
speed.
speed. Classic. Welcome, David. Thanks for joining us. This
Pleasure to be
was,
back.
yeah.
They're fogging up. I can't see.
Oh, I see. I thought you're like, oh, it's too
much
dark.
speed. It's so hot.
So yeah, our main topic today is going to be accessories, and you know, who better to talk to than the master of buying
You
accessories?
compliment me too much.
I buy accessories
just
too,
go
but it's in
through 'em.
repro too, so you know.
Of buying in excess. It's like, how many
Oh man.
seats do you have now? It's
No,
like
but we need you for
Two?
your reviewer mind here, you know, because you know we're diving into some deep stuff, and
Sure.
you guys are in a treat because it's gonna be some our deep rabbit hole we're gonna dive into here. But first, we got some updates that we got to do. Other than that, any last? I guess we didn't get anything for our MP5 podcast. That was fun, by the way, guys, because we get to talk about SMG platforms that we don't see a lot of them in Panther because of the fact that you know it's a woods sort of setting and medium
it's
to
just
long
the
range.
vast open spaces and distances. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually,
I got a reason.
go ahead. I was just gonna ask you, how do you feel about like SMG platforms and the MP5 in general?
Would you slap that? Is the first question.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that's the first thing you do. It's an
HK
HK platform.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
10 out
have
of
it.
10 would
Yeah.
slap that.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah, I
dived
like-
in about 10 minutes about the HK slap.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I like MP5s in general. They're kind of my sweet spot for SMGs. I don't know what it is, but I think the original love for it kind of came from Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen. The scene where they're
Yes.
storming the warehouse and they come in with the SDs. It's too cool, man. Like
It's an
that just
iconic
really
arms.
did
It's like
me.
it's an iconic
Yeah.
arms, right? So that's
Yeah,
what it is.
Hollywood
die hard.
definitely did its job.
Yeah.
Anything happening at the field? I haven't been at the field lately. Mac or Tac, yeah, spill us.
Rain.
Okay.
Yeah, rain. Yeah, lots of rain.
Well, a lot of kudos to the guys that are still showing up and stuff like that. Mind
Mhm.
you, again, like, thank you for paying attention to COVID guidelines and everything like that. You know, trying to respect distancing rules and, you know, people wearing masks where necessary. And again, we've got lots of hand sanitizer and our washrooms are there. So please, you know, wash your hands regularly and yeah, just try and limit the contact that you have. Like airsoft is one of those great sports where we're required to shoot each other from a certain set distance. So let's try and keep that going.
And
Mhm.
as far as movie set goes, are they still running? Are the
Oh,
trailers still there?
yes. So they are in and out, depending on their work schedule for the week, but they are building a movie set for the in the common
Ah.
area. So for those people who are still coming out and stuff like that, they've noticed some of it coming together. Please don't touch it.
Mhm.
Please leave it alone.
Mhm.
That is a actual active movie set. So please no pictures and no social media. And just, you know, guys, again, the movies sets in the film industry grants us a lot of privileges and stuff like that from the people that play there know. Like we have some really nice movie sets that have been left behind, and crossing our fingers. But again, we're just gonna stay silent and we're gonna keep doing us.
Yep, they'll leave us the leftovers, and that's the beauty of it.
I'm just crossing my fingers, guys. Okay, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything.
All right. It's gonna be another movie set for TAC to fall into. So.
Hey, David, have you met Tak? He's the guy who fell through mines.
Oh my god. Classic.
Noise.
Noise.
Yeah, he really took that gold rush to heart, didn't he?
Yeah.
dangling with his
3, 2, 1, go,
dangling with his feet.
Oh, it was so funny. I'll never forget.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, let's get started here. Dave, you can put on your speed glasses now if you want, because we are going to get into these topics.
We're not
Hell
just putting
yeah.
on one pair. We're putting on 2. We're going so fast today because there's so many accessories. We need double the speed.
Actually, before we get started, how are you doing, by the way? How's all this COVID stuff treating you? You at home all the time, or you working, or what's going on?
Work out, eat, do airsoft stuff, and work out again.
Oh, you're
mean,
living
the
the
Army
dream,
stinks.
dude. You're living the dream.
Yeah, the Army stood down right now, which is kind of sucks. I don't get to do any training or anything like that. But outside of that, I do training at home and then just airsoft related stuff and hang out with the girl and so on and so forth. And then we have a dog on the way, so life's
Oh,
actually pretty
Congrats.
good. I've been pretty fortunate, and I got a nice cushion I can sit on right now, so I don't really need to worry too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
So life is
Yeah,
on a
I've been doing great,
standstill
man.
right now, but you're still having fun.
Yeah, you got to make the best of a shitty situation. You know how it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel
Okay.
that, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, and in today's topic, we are talking about accessories, and yet more accessories.
Oh,
You gotta accessorize.
accessorizing.
Gotta accessorize everything, dude. Just like a car, you gotta accessorize that. You gotta, we talk about customizing it now. We're gonna customize it in accessories. So
It's like, are you telling me you don't have a Hello Kitty gun charm? You need to think your life over again.
Thanks.
Wait, they make gun charms for actual guns? What?
Yes.
Yeah,
I
like
thought it was just
call
a
it
Call
like
of
Call
Duty
of Duty.
thing.
No, they
No,
do.
no.
They do. No, they have anime ones. They have cute Hello
I've-
Kitty ones. They
Yeah.
have.
Well, I mean, you can just take like a regular.
I
keychain,
think
do whatever you
that's the
want.
easiest one to customize for accessories is just gun charms because
Gun charm.
it's just video games. Has taken a lot of like accessorizing stuff and apply
Well, a
it
lot
to
of
real
people
world.
take inspiration
very
from
true.
video games, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a really cool place because again, like I feel like we've touched on this before, but it's just being like a multifaceted factor because it's just like you get inspiration.
You are you playing that?
What is he watching?
I'm sorry.
I know it
I
was
had
it
to-
was.
I had to play that. It's like effing chat for airsoft right now, boys.
Oh my god.
We just
I've
started
been chatting.
straight to charms. Gotcha. Yo, but that +1 to speed though in that charm, you gotta. Yeah.
Just on it, exactly.
I'm
And
gonna put a mustache sticker on my stock next. That's what I'm gonna do.
mustache sticker with your Pit Viper glasses. I think that's your next logo.
I
Oh
think
my
I
God.
see a shirt or a patch inbound in the future here, boys.
Yeah.
There are some patches inbound. I'm trying to get that sorted out, and maybe stickers. I'm also getting Tiger Stripe, so
Of
things are
course.
going real high speed.
Tiger.
It
Tiger
better be tiger stripe like orange and black because I want speed.
Dude, I wish. Maybe for a Gucci loadout one day, just for goofiness.
Yeah.
I'll do the Jackson Pollock camo, and I got splatter cam. But
All right, let's
gotta
get
try and
back.
keep it somewhat real.
All right, let's get back into topic here.
Sounds good.
So accessories. Here we go.
Accessories.
It is a deep hole we're gonna dive into, and just a little bit of disclaimer. Some of these accessories are like gun specific and stuff. We're gonna try and sort of get the all around accessory that we should get for a lot of our airsoft guns, because not all accessories will fit. Like especially like when we start talking about like stocks and handguards and then suppressors and different types of suppressors.
What do you mean by the all-round accessory? I'm
like,
curious on that.
We're talking about like grips. We're talking about sights. We're talking about
Yeah, we're just going all around the gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff that you could use for a lot of different platforms in general.
That you can just swap around and stuff like that, especially when it comes to GBBR platforms, right? Because you can easily just swap parts around, depending on the platform, of course, depending on the
Yes, of course.
platform. But if you have one that can,
AR-15.
That's because when
Yeah.
you have GBB guns, you're always swapping parts. You're never not.
Ooh, personal
True.
attack. That's why I always have a bank of spare parts that someone
like
always
defense
comes
wall.
by. That someone always
Defense
comes by and be like, "Hey, do you have this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, here. $20. Hey, do you have this?" I'm like, "Yeah, here. $30. Hey, do you have this lower? Hold on. Yeah, I got it." You always gotta have spares, okay? Let's be honest
I
here.
gotcha.
That is true.
Boys, gotcha.
Yeah, so we're gonna be talking about all around like accessories that we should get for our literally like let's start with just a standard AR platform, and then we can move up to AKs and stuff. But as far as different accessories go, what is like a most common one that's gonna be that's gonna support a lot of our accessories and sort of get us going? So if you have a standard GNG sort of a round handguard and stuff, you can't put anything other than taping a flashlight or something. Like the first thing we're gonna do is basically get like a handguard or some sort of rail system on it, right? The most common one would be like like a standard Riz, right? Then you get Picatinny rails on it. Then we could start adding things like grips. That's do we need grips for airsoft guns?
Grips are nice.
Yes.
I would say yeah.
I like
It
grip.
makes things comfortable. Like anything that makes you more comfortable is an advantage, right? Like
Yeah, preference is everything.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. It's like it's almost a meme and a joke at the same time. Well, it is, right?
Are
Like,
we getting
don't
into
think-
are we getting into
I
how
don't
we
think
hold
we're
the
there.
gun? Are we C clamping it? Are we like English gripping it? Are we like what are we doing now at this point?
Magwell.
Yeah.
Don't ever
Magwell-
knock
man,
the
that's a
backup
classic.
Magwell.
classic Magwell, yo.
So
I would say it's always-
having a front grip, like, is that useful in itself, or are we just talking about like how you shoot, how you stand, how you hold that thing? Because
I would say for preference of stability, yes, because it really depends. I mean, you have your traditional rifle grip, which kind of you cock your hand over essentially, and most of the weight goes through your wrist. And if you have something long enough, you can actually push your arm out a little bit and extend it and have that little bit of break, so you get the shoulder support. But at the same time, most of the time, like people's wrists get really sore of just wrapping your hand around a handguard. The easiest way to sort of mitigate that is essentially go with a vertical grip and either do the half grip where you have a few fingers and one pointing down and then the others.
yeah, it
You also
almost
have,
looks like you're
AFC.
holding a pistol at that point at the front, but it's in your
Exactly.
offhand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
get
would say
that.
it's very, very helpful for the average person, especially like if you're not comfortable in said position, and if your weapon system for whatever reason weighs a metric ton, like alpha AKs. Yeah, grips are generally a good solution to kind of help add that stability and really sort of bring it back into your shoulder. I mean, we're not dealing with technical recoil, but at the same time, having a good stable stance just helps improve your ability to keep your weapon on target. Or pardon me, your airsoft gun on target, I should say.
Yeah.
Man, always getting these two mixed.
Yeah.
Well, and
Be
the
careful.
big thing too with airsoft is like with grips, I see a huge advantage with it when it comes to a lot of platforms that have like free floating barrels and stuff, because I find a lot of guys have this bad tendency to lean on their free floating barrel, and unfortunately with airsoft, they're not made out of precision grade metal, so they are going
They
to
will
bend.
wobble. They will wobble. Yeah.
Yeah, like
They'll shift.
your aim will go off, and at some point, if you lean on it long enough, I have seen it. They'll just bend, and they're permanent that way, and then you have to buy yourself a whole new system. Sometimes, worst case scenario. So
Yeah.
definitely there are advantages to that. For sure.
So getting back into the handguards and rail system for like a standard AR platform, there is a lot of different sort of options that we're talking about. This is just an AR platforms alone, and in AK as well. There are lots of different ones as well.
Yeah.
Zanko parts and all this fun jazz. But let's start with just the AR platform. Now, losing your front triangle on an AR platform and switching it to like a different like a low profile block, and then putting a long the popular one is putting the longer sort of handguard on it with all the rails on it, extending all the way out to the barrel, and then I think everyone's favorite is putting a shroud at the front to hide their suppressor. That's one of those things where they're like, oh yeah, it's like a Mark 18 like sort of block and stuff like
Hmm.
that, to hide the
Mhm.
suppressor. Why is it so
Classic special
popular? Yeah, why is it
forces.
so popular? Is it just from video games, or what is it from
Mm,
movies, or what do you think?
I would I would say movies, video games alike, but at the same time too, the ergonomics of just like a quad rail, like the easiest one I can think of off the top of my head is like a Daniel Defense,
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
block rails. One, they're lighter than most of the other ones that exist out there, and they have a lower profile for a quad rail. So the older CAC style and a lot of the other ones that were based off that, you would always find that the top portion of the rail was raised slightly, and then the other pieces were sort of extended out. So you almost had
Mhm.
a rail essentially as thick as your handguard, made of aluminum, and they weighed a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the
Yeah.
Daniel Defense rails are a little bit slimmer in profile, they're a lot tighter and they are technically lighter. But I think the aesthetic really just comes from like a lot of movies and things like that. And because it got issued to Navy SEALs, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this is so
Mhm.
hot." Because
Mhm.
back in the day, like the original, the original Mark 18, like the Mod Zero, which was literally just a 10-inch um, AR essentially with a CAC rail at the front and a crane stock and an A1 grip, and
Yeah.
everyone had those. I remember that when I first started. That was kind of the gun to build, so to speak.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
they took they took the standard issue M4 and basically modified the heck
Hmm.
out of it so that they have their own operator package so that they can put whatever accessories they want
Yeah.
on that entire, 3 set rail plus the bottom, right?
Hmm.
Um,
When I think it comes down to a lot of like practicality, where like and
Yeah.
just
Very
like
much so.
ease of use, right? With like a quad or the classic CAC rail going to a Daniel Defense rail, like right. Like if we look at like just like I'm pretty sure the American Army still has like just like the M4A1, like the
Hmm.
standard Riz, right? Like
yep.
that thing is like massively
Hmm.
in still within their ranks, right? So like yeah, exactly. It's just the versatility of use. I feel like that really
Yeah.
comes into handy, but
Depending.
don't take that away from like
Hmm.
the newer models where you had like like what is it? I think it went key mod first, and then now a lot of things are moving over towards like the M lock, right? So
Yeah, the key mod never entered service military wise, just expense.
yeah, but
But
just
So,
I'm talking
but
for
it
like
entered it
access
entered the
oh,
controls.
civilian area.
yeah,
Yeah.
it did. Well,
Yeah.
like in the civilian market, key mod and M-lock is kind of like the thing. I think it's kind of interesting because that's kind of where they get you. They may be lighter, but you have to buy all the accessories
Yeah.
specifically to fit
Yeah,
it, or
100%.
the
Exactly.
rail segments, right? So it adds up
Mhm.
in cost,
So
but
so
they
what
are smooth.
for people looking into getting handguards and rails, and
Hmm.
they're looking into these different sort of rail options that they have, what would you say would be like the first one they should go for right away? Is it Picatinny? Are we going M-lock?
Yeah,
Key
Picatinny,
mod? Because I think the
Picatinny.
most popular is always going to be Picatinny, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Picatinny always first. I'd always suggest that because it's your budget friendly sort of way to go. I
Mhm.
haven't ventured away
Exactly.
to M-lock or any of the other ones. Again, because I don't like buying more little pieces to get the usability out of it. Whereas I think it should come with it just off the bat. And Picatinny is just it's
Yeah.
just set, like it's
Is,
good to
isn't
go.
it that M-lock and key mods, like, they would adapt to Picatinny anyway?
Yeah, well,
Because
that's the irony behind
that's
it,
that's the
right?
irony, right? Because
Yeah,
like they're trying to move away
Mhm.
from a system that is like, that
it's
is
very
like
hard
very
to.
Well,
old, but
Yeah,
they're always adapting to the Picatinny
mhm.
system right away.
Mhm.
It's
I
very
think the
hard to move.
innovation comes in though with the fact that you can put it's the product or part placement, right? Because
Hmm.
I understand um that
You're talking about
having
mounting on angles, right?
exactly
Yeah.
just different spots because like
Are we talking about like the
and then
45s at that point?
Mhm.
Ah,
whether it's canted, whether it's on the side, whether it's underneath, under barrel for accessories,
Mhm.
grips, launchers, flashlights, whatever. Like, just because I understand your pet peeve, schoolboy, about like just like not wanting to buy another segment, but I feel like if it comes down to like a weight and performance issue, where or at least a ruling like that, where it's like I can place my grip further
Mhm.
back at this one section, right? But I can still keep the rail itself relatively ergonomic because exactly
Yeah.
for different situations in a combat setting, you're either going to be, fully extended out on a rifle to take like a long shot, or you're going to be in a compact situation where you're
Mhm.
going into like a CQC, like
Mhm.
Well, if we're being like I like M-lock to be honest,
mhm,
like I do. just from the standpoint, from the look and how it functions, it's practical and it makes
Exactly.
sense.
Yeah.
You do reduce weight by about 30%, which is nice.
That's what
Essentially, if your
another
rail is bare
another issue.
bones, but it's also one of those things where M-lock and key mods, you have to do a lot of tinkering when you want to change something. So it's not something that you would do on the fly, so to speak. Whereas Picatinny, if you have like, was it quick release or just the simple like thumb screws,
Yeah.
you can quickly move something or take something off, which is one of the reasons why the military is very hesitant to shift to something different, I guess, in most perspectives. It's just easier,
Yeah.
especially if you give troops accessories and something like breaks, you just take it off. For the purpose of airsoft, though, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, for that like kind of that slim sort of kosher look with M-lock, it's very nice, and I do like it. I just haven't really ventured that way because I look at it in terms of price point too. I'm like paying a lot more basically for something that really isn't that much of a different, you
So
know?
if you want that military look,
The
go
less with
Picatinny right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. If you're going for like some kind of like impressionist view or something, see,
hmm
because that gets dangerous though, because that comes down to what platform that you're trying to impersonate, and then
If
also
you want to
or
be
emulate. Sorry.
classic,
Yeah.
okay? If you
Yeah.
want to be classic, you go with the Catini. You want to go all futuristic, you go, the Chris
hmm
Vector, M-Lock, Cobalt
Hey,
Kinetics,
as for
like
personal reference,
tubular
right?
looking
Like
handguard.
my
Like,
favorite
oh
is
my
my
god.
M4A1 build for my gas
Yeah.
blowback, and that's like the classic,
I love that gun.
the U.S.
I love
Army,
that gun.
like
Yeah.
ish
Just
standard
simple, man.
issue, simple,
Yeah.
effective. I could put a grip on it. I prefer
Mhm.
not to put a front
Yeah.
grip on it because I still like wrapping my hands around that damn thing
Sometimes simple
because
is
its simplicity is
yeah.
like for me just
Mhm.
switching on the lasers on my
I'm a,
uh
On your
my
D
D
ball,
ball.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to
yeah.
go.
When you guys touch on that, like it's kind of what it comes down to when it comes to, I guess, how I build my guns, regardless of what the platform is. I like
Mhm.
simplicity.
Mhm.
The easier things are, and I can basically toy with everything on the site, the better it is. I don't really like it when I have to take an Allen key out every time to adjust something.
Mm,
I think it's nonsense.
Mm.
yeah.
Like you should technically have like a tool set on you, like a multi tool, but you really shouldn't have to use it in field. Just the idea of like breaking things down to like the minute bit when you're out and about, it's just asking to lose something. Or the other part is it's
Mm.
just frustration, right? I like simplicity, so I stick to Picatinny's, man. Like it's just the easiest way to go.
Yeah, I got
Less
that.
moving parts, exactly.
hmm
Interesting. Moving into the world of, AKs and stuff, you could change the handguards on it, depending on what AK you have. The front handguards are usually the ones to go first. It's like a B13 sort of handrail. There's once you change up the wood to polymer stuff. Now we're gonna get into the memes. Would be like, no, AK's fine,
I would
because
argue that meme is irrelevant.
but like moving up to the newer stuff, then you start adding like Zenko, like front handguards and stuff like that. For
Mhm.
them, they're still using sort of. Are they still using Picatinny systems as well that are similar
Yeah,
to what NATO has, right? If I'm
yeah, they
correct,
still
yeah,
stick to Picatinny.
yeah.
I mean,
So,
Yeah.
oh
Do they
god,
call it that though?
probably I
I
would assume so. I
or is it
mean,
is it like a Weaver, whatever they call it,
no,
system? No.
I wouldn't even call it a Weaver anymore. Most of the world has kind of standardized with Picatinny just because of the way that it was set up initially speaking, and then when NATO kind of
Most
adopted it
accessories,
across the
yeah.
board. Yeah, I mean, it gives you the most viability, and then when you have aftermarket companies that produce optics, flashlights, lasers, you name it, if it's Picatinny, it's like universal.
Yeah.
It's the
It's,
way to
yeah.
go right now to attach things to your weapons platform. So naturally, I mean,
It's
yeah,
standardized, exactly.
yeah, it just makes sense, and it's easy to work with because the specs don't really change.
Yeah.
And even if it's slightly off, you can still adjust for it and account for it because most have adjustable mounts. So that also comes in hand too.
Yeah, because for my AK-74 M,
hmm
for me having changed the black polymer like no rail to having the black polymer rail at the bottom, and then having a secondary rail on the side, I'm then able to add my D-ball to the
hmm
side of the AK, which is a beauty because a standard AK from like the 70s does not have rails from back then,
No,
so it's not standard
Well,
for
it's
no.
them.
just
So
very bare bones,
yeah,
right?
but having that laser system, I could then run my AK at night, with the tracer unit at the front, and then I could start, using
hmm
D-ball with my IR stuff. We'll get into the D-ball stuff a little bit later, but as far as like customization goes for that, that's the simplest way to go forth. There are more complex systems for AR, which then adds the entire top row, like a full rail at the top, so your desk cover comes out, you put in a new desk cover with the rail system on it, and then your front handguard can change into a full rail system that follows a Picatinny that goes all the way to the front handguard as well, and those get pretty expensive and complex.
And
But
heavy.
And heavy. Yes, I've noticed
Yeah.
that too, because
Right away, front heavy.
because a lot of this you don't get a lot of. I don't know if you get a lot of repro stuff for the AKs, but for the AKs itself, you could pretty much just adapt the real steel stuff. Now we're getting into the real steel stuff.
Yeah.
Now, because it's much easier to get them from Zenko or something like that.
You're gonna dance around the subject like the entire night, exactly.
Yeah.
It's either real steel or Repro.
Yeah,
right?
because
So
for AKs, especially in the airsoft world, it's much easier to adapt the real stuff. Even though you got to make a little bit of modification, but it's easier to adapt the real steel stuff versus getting repros, because repros are like non-existent for their side, unless it's made by the company itself.
I mean, there's a lot less. There's a lot less variation in airsoft AKs nowadays than there was before. I mean, arguably speaking, the two main manufacturers that everyone buys are like LCT and E&L.
Yeah,
those are kind of the two like staples that people will always go to and work with, and their specifications are very, very close to the real one. That everything almost like matchy just fits. You may have to like adjust something here and there, but that kind of comes with the ground of airsoft in general. But even SEMAs, I would argue nowadays are kind of falling in line with the same sort of specification.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can find just as many airsoft accessories for AKs as you can real ones with ARs too. It's a matter of knowing where to look. And now most companies actually make them because they're like hot. Everyone wants like the Zenetco stuff, but you can't always get it. And at the same time, the question is, do you want to pay the chunk of coin basically to buy it? Whereas you can buy a repro and it's a quarter of the cost in many cases. Yeah.
So repro for a lot of the stuff that we're talking about for airsoft is probably the way to go. I know for the AK platforms, there are platforms that are already built to spec to some of the like custom AKs that you see out there for like special forces and stuff. Like G&G makes them, LCT makes some of them, as well as SEMA as well. They're coming out with those newer sort of sleek black AKs that are like super like modified, and like they're not Zenko stuff, but they look like it, which is pretty
like
awesome.
The 104s and stuff, or
yeah. And they're pretty decked out, like full rail customization, everything, and
like even the stock ones, just what they come with and stuff like that, what they're starting to come out with anyway, it's like they're already
accessorized.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. They're already accessorized, they're ready to go. Like
how
ready.
How in the how in the AR world, you have so many different flavors of, just the AR in general, and then some of them are already accessorized. Like, think about sort of like the LVOA War Sports, like that's already decked out to be able to add a lot of stuff. But what are they using? Like M-locks or
I would argue. Oh man.
Key mod. I think they're key mod, right? Yeah.
They're key mod.
The LVOA is a key mod rail.
Oh.
I would argue that what we call like the decked out guns now are actually the standard.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what everyone's making nowadays. Whereas the guns that Poi, you and I originally started, which was like a classic sort
vanilla,
of AR that
very vanilla.
Yeah, you have to buy things.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
It, man.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love vanilla.
Yeah.
Carry handle gang all the way, baby. But,
Hey, once in a while I put the carry handle on my M4 and be like, oh yeah, this is basic bitch moment.
Carry handle with the ACOG attachment on top.
Dude, I have that too. I have that too.
Yeah.
Dude, that's hot.
Bring that back, okay?
Okay. But the one thing I have to point out too, just before because we're already diving deep into this, right? Because there's so many things that you could slap onto a rail and it works. But what people like kind of forget, and or on the upper or something like that, just because everyone sees rail space and they think they need to fill it. But the one thing that happens, right?
Toilet paper adapter.
Right, but my point
Coffee
is
cup
that it's
holder.
Thanks, Dayton.
that's not a bad one actually. But my point is that you need to be mindful of weight
Hmm.
Yep.
because
Mm.
whether it's slung around your neck or whether you're carrying it like all the time and you don't carry a sling because you're poi, that's fine. But you need to be able to carry the gun, right?
Hmm.
So like that's the main. Hey, no, I know, I get it. Poi, I'm not knocking. Okay, I see those guns.
But he's not.
Hey,
Carrying
David
three
is a
guns.
sling guy too. You know.
Yeah, he's not. He's not knocking, but he's knocking.
Wait, no, Poi,
What?
what do you mean? David rocks a sling.
No,
You don't.
that's what I was saying. He's a sling guy. So.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
like,
I'll never
I was
knock
like,
a sling, man, because they come in handy when you need them.
Yeah.
yep.
Well, the thing is, for my situation, it's just just like a 30-minute game. I'm not like hauling ass for the next 2
No.
hours, 3 hours, right? So I'm not gonna be tired. So I can just lay my gun
You don't.
down, right?
Yeah, you don't need it at all. I mean, I
No.
for 30-minute pickup games, you don't really need a sling. I would argue that a sling is just it's a good boundary habit to have, essentially, especially for like being able to drop your gun quickly or for whatever particular reason. If you take a biff, it's still attached to you and it doesn't go flying in the process,
Yeah.
you know? But it's one of the, I don't know, man. Like the sling debate's a
It's
funny
a
one.
fashion statement.
Yeah.
It's a
No,
fashion statement.
it's
Like
it's
Poi
it's
just
it's
wears a
user
Glock on
user
his hip for
preference.
fashion.
Yo,
Hey.
it's so I can
Like,
quickly deploy my secondary guy.
Hmm.
Right? Right?
what? No, that gun belt in Poi. No way. That's just
All right.
his
All right.
hips don't lie. It's just for fashion.
That's what the sling is for.
Yo, but
Okay.
that draw speed though, dude.
So you guys want to draw pistols? I'm working on getting a shotgun set up on my hip,
Of course
so
you are.
I
Of
can
course
quick
you
draw a
are.
shotgun.
Oh my
Wait, like an
gosh.
Like a
underbarrel
breacher
master
or
key, or like just
No,
like a
no, 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 no.
secondary
Like a
one?
breacher. I got a
yeah.
Yeah.
breacher,
Oh,
and I've got a Kydex holster for it. So I'm trying to set it up essentially.
You
So I
know
can
how many
offset it.
people I've seen with the Kydex holster on the side here, or not the Kydex,
Yeah.
but just like what is it, the scabber like on the side of their
Oh
legs.
God.
You know how many times
Get
I've
outta
seen
here.
people like running? Oh, there goes a shotgun.
Yeah. Scabbards don't really hold them in place though.
Well,
kind of
that's the
issue.
only option they have.
just gotta
Anyways,
back, like one of those like movie
let's
scenes,
reel it.
you
Let's
know,
reel
pull
it
it
back
out.
here.
Big
So
rip.
we've talked about handguards and rails. Now let's talk about like grips and other sort of accessory grips. We kind of went ahead a couple of minutes ago about the grips.
Mhm.
But grips, what is your guys' personal favorites? For me, it's gonna be the Moe hand grip stuff. They're light, they're hollow, and the inside they're plastic. They're a little bit of a pain to get in and out, but other than that, they're
Mhm.
Picatinny for me. So Moe grips are the way to go. Other than that, I usually tend to not have grips on. What about you
Yeah.
guys? David, go.
Mm,
If you were to use a grip,
I'm okay with grips. I only use them if I need them on certain things for support. I prefer handguards. I find this actually more comfortable for me most of the time. And generally it's because I'm either gripping a grenade launcher, but when I'm not using a grenade launcher and for example like on my stoner, I have a folding foregrip or the grip pod that I just got surplus. So
is
and
that
I
the one
always
that
hold those sort of
makes a
on an angle.
bipod?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I like those only for holding on an angle. I find every time I mount a grip on a weapon system that I'm always choking up onto the actual handguard itself. I don't like holding a grip like this to me is completely uncomfortable, and I find
Yeah.
that my wrist gets cocked.
I'm
It
the
gets sore
same.
after a
Yeah.
while. You know, it's just it's not as stable either. Too, it's one of those things where you don't have as much stability. Whereas if you're actually choked up on it, you can kind of control things a little bit more. So mixed grip is kind of my thing. And caveat to that, I don't like AFGs at all. So
Oh,
Same way as well. I don't like AFGs as well. Like it's supposed to.
really?
It's supposed
no,
to.
not at all.
It's supposed to complement like the C clamps and stuff for whatever
Yeah,
it is.
because
But
I actually,
or
I'm
or
not gonna
or,
lie,
or
I
the
like it.
stopper at the front is supposed to tell you where to stop. But I do
I've
not like
tried
it.
them.
Yeah.
I've tried them, but I find the angle is just it's too harsh with the hand. It's almost like a strange cock position. Whereas with the foregrip, I find I can wrap 2 to 3 of my fingers and then get the other two up. So it's almost like holding a pistol grip.
Yeah.
You know, in front position, bang bang. But
You need
it's
to hold
just
my Mark 18.
comfy. Yeah, man, I can give it a shot again, but I've tried an AFG for like 2 years. I was like, nope. I went back to like
Not you just
mixed
like,
grip.
I mean,
What about you, Mac?
Like,
What about for grips? What about you?
so right now I am rocking an angled
Mhm.
foregrip for people who don't know what that was right there. But so, like I've got an AFG on my Mark 18. I've got it right to the front of my rail because I do have a short carbine version that Tack built for me. And him and he has a big part in the way I build my guns and set them up and everything like that. And I just found that it was a really good way to kind of be able to fully extend on the platform,
Hmm.
but also be able to kind of like keep control. Because exactly like David's saying, where it's like if you're too bunched up, it's really kind of like it can hinder your movements. So
Hmm.
being able to be like fully extended out and then being able to snap to a target instead of having to like to reel in and maneuver. But that being said, I do enjoy like a classic vertical foregrip, but
Hmm.
or like I think it's the MOE one, um, but it's the short block one. And
Oh yeah.
I really like having that on an AR, and I don't even hold the grip. It's more of like just like we were talking about with the
Yeah.
two fingers to make it seem like it's like you're holding another pistol, right? So
Yeah.
that
The
I
mixed
feel
grip.
like is a really, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really it's slick. It provides a lot of control. I've shot real firearms in that stance and style, and I enjoyed it. I've also shot them C-clamped and stuff without anything, so I do enjoy that one as well. Like
And what about
Great for
you?
point shooting and muzzle control.
What about you, Tuck?
yeah, exactly.
Well, for myself, I guess I'm a bigger fan of like thumb stops and stuff like that, or finger stops, just because like it, like kind of like what
Are you
Dave was
talking
just
about
saying
the ones that
earlier.
are resting on the side there?
On the front or the
On the
Re-
rear?
front, rear,
so
or
so
side?
it depends. I've tried them out in different configurations. I found that regardless of how you set it up, it's something you have to get used to. But
Hmm.
I've
Mhm.
found that they're a little bit better if you want to keep a low profile setup. So if you want to keep like a minimalistic look, just to accent like, the build of the gun itself instead of adding too many busy parts on it and stuff like that, but it still does a fairly good job for what it's meant for and stuff like that. And I like it because if I'm using like a short, an SBR or something like that, I'll have it right on the side because I'll most likely have my hand sort of like right up at the front, clamped like with the
Yeah.
thumb on the side and stuff like that. With the longer stuff, I'll probably have it on the bottom just because I'll use it more as like a finger stop for my index where I'm pushing it all the way out kind of thing instead of using it as a thumb stop.
Hmm.
And then if I were to use like a foregrip, I I've tried and ran an AFG for the last like year for off my Crytek. It worked, I guess it worked just because of the platform and stuff like that. Is it my favorite one? Probably not. I have been looking into this one sort of to imitate something that I'd seen in a video game, specifically Tarkov. I think it's in real life too, Poi, but it's that one where it's on the AKs where it's short, but it's not like the stubby one where it's like a rectangle, but it's almost at like an
Oh,
angle.
it's like an angle like
Oh
that,
yeah.
and then they're just holding it
Yeah,
like that. Yeah,
exactly, and I like
they
that
had that in
idea
real life.
about
Yeah,
it just because of the fact that you can use it at you can it's long enough that you can use it as a foregrip if you want to, sort of just to hold it, like as a tack grip, or you can use it as the sort of AFG sort of style where you
Is
can
it?
have your fingers
Oh, okay.
sort of slip kind of against it or form around it sort of so it's not sticking right down kind of thing so you can
Hmm.
still have like a C clamp sort of grip. So that's sort of what I like and what I've run. um I guess out of all of those, what I would favor is probably. I guess it comes down to what platform you're running, and I guess right now I'm running a lot of SBR stuff because that's what I'm kind of trying to test out right now. So I'd probably say the thumb stuff.
you got the longer barrels on that then.
Yeah.
I Yeah, on a lot of the other stuff. Yeah, that's what I've been trying to test out at least right now. Is just the short rifles and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Um, yeah, it's different sort of as you can see here from our statements here that it's different sets of usage and as well
Mhm.
as like player styles and stuff. So it's really up
Personal
to yeah,
preference,
personal
exactly.
preference. That's what I was trying to say.
Mhm.
It's not just just one way of doing things. There's multiple way of doing things, and
Mhm.
with the
Mhm.
beauty of like accessories like handguards and rails. You don't have to use the entire set. Some people will use the entire thing, but you can customize where your sort of grips go. You can go put it all the way to the front, all the way to the back. It depends on your lengths, like your hand lengths and
Depends on who
stuff.
you are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and how you use it. So I mean, for me personally, it's still gonna be no grips, and I'm just gonna either C clamp that thing. It depends because if I'm going CQB, I'm gonna cant my weapon almost at a 45, and I'm already C clamping that thing. Side like my mag's like 45 degrees this way, and as I'm going to CQB, right, that's basically like closest to my face as I'm coming in to the room. Versus like if I'm firing far, then I have to keep my weapon leveled, so it's gonna be like nice and leveled, and I'm trying to shoot for the
Fully
distance.
extended.
Yeah, fully
Exactly.
extended out
Yeah.
so that I could get the it like when I'm breathing hard like I usually do. I'm either I'm already clamped on the side of a tree or something like that, right? So I'm using my like as I'm holding it like that. So there's a lot of ways to use your airsoft gun, and then just the customizations that you put into it just adds to it. So grips are one of those things that that could add or
100%.
make a make or break a difference in your style.
Oh,
Um,
I just forgot to.
oh,
We were talking about canted sights and stuff like that. What about the canted foregrips? Can't forget that boy.
oh yes.
Wait, canted
So
foregrip?
I hope you
okay,
were-
hold
I-
on,
I thought you were
hold
gonna
on.
bring that up.
So for you Tarkov players out there, we all know that there is a 45-degree grip. So that means actually with the M-Lock and as well as the new rail systems,
do that.
they do have
Yeah.
45s, right?
Exactly.
What are your guys'
So-
feelings on 45s? Because I feel like in a CQB situation, like what I was doing with canting my gun sideways, because that's when I'm coming to CQB, I could lift my weapon right away at a 45, and that's what I'll do. Like I'll have the grip right there, which actually makes sense. I haven't actually tried it myself, but that would make sense. But what about for you guys?
A canted rail for an optic would be okay for me, but I think the extent of a grip being used in a canted sense, the only way I see that being a feasible option would be maybe hip firing like like a LMG or MMG. But then when you get into that argument, it's also like there needs to be recoil, and if there is, because that's the only reason that I would see to have. That's it. I can't.
I don't know. I hate the idea of it. First off, it's not in line with the actual weight of the weapon, so you're not actually
Exactly.
supporting it properly, which really kind of it's an offshoot. And I think the reason why 45-degree grips exist in the first place is because, to be specific, like machine guns have bipods that usually fold up into them, and if you put a grip obviously underneath, you can't utilize it.
Yeah.
In the real world, you generally need to do that for a machine gun for supportive reasons. So I think that's kind of why the grips exist. I mean, I'll just kind of segue off into this, like a calf side, like on our C9s, because the bipod folds up under to it. We have the side rail and the forward foregrip mounts on the side rail. It is the most uncomfortable thing to try and hold because the weight wants to fall over to one side, so
It's
your arm is
tilted,
actually
yeah.
doing more work just trying to support it. I don't see the appeal to it. I think they're disgusting. Yeah, just flush them down the toilet. Get rid of them.
Well, that one's not even canted, right? Like it's just
No.
offset to the side.
Yeah.
So that's why it would be such an uncomfortable thing. Like I mean, I know
Ladies and
just
gentlemen,
like Hollywood.
But as far as like in Tarkov, you do need a spare. You need a part that actually puts it at a 45. So if you have like an AK rail at the bottom that points down, you have another part that goes sideways and then comes up, and then you could add your 45 to it. I think the reason they have that, especially for Zenko, is when you're reloading an AK, it's always pushing forward, right? Like your magazine's always going to push forward, and if you have some sort of front grip on it, it is difficult to get that magazine out of the way. Yeah.
Well,
hinder your movement,
I have seen it. Guys who rock like even something like the RV2 or something like that, the really long boys or whatever. The guys with the curved clips can't even open it up.
Yeah.
I would argue the Romanians figured out that problem on the aims a long time ago by making the donkey dong that goes forward.
Yeah, the
Mm.
forward
So
one.
Mhm,
That looks
the
awkward
dong.
to hold.
No, not
Yeah.
it's
no,
actually
dude.
very it isn't
Don't
at all
don't
actually.
hate
It's very
on the dong.
comfortable.
Yeah,
Ah.
the dong,
Don't
man.
hate
The
on the
dong.
dong.
Yeah,
No dong
yeah,
haters here.
And
yeah.
that
Bro,
was
man,
made like
that's
what, back in the 80s or something, or 70s even, when they
No, before
figured it
that.
out? Holy
I think
shoot.
it's like 60s is when they came up with the idea behind that. I mean, like vertical grips are nothing technically that new.
Yeah.
It's just they weren't
Mhm.
really heavily implemented back then because rifle stance and how you used to hold weapons in the military was very sort of what would you call it? Like nowadays we have gunfighter drills and
Yep.
like was it you square off with the target with your front presenting your plate, but back in the day it was like sort of the classic gentleman
Sideways,
style, right? Like
holding
you
like
would kind
that,
of get
or
into it,
hugging
yeah,
it.
you
I
would kind of
think.
cradle the
Yeah.
rifle, yeah, the old
Well,
marksman
I think
style.
the
That's
way
what it
to
is.
exactly that's what it is. You
Mm-hmm.
are hunting in that sense, but I
Yeah.
think the shift came from like from our big world wars and everything like that, where it became
Mm-hmm.
modern combat. So you needed to now be a combat shooter instead of just a
Yeah.
marksman,
Well,
right?
suddenly you were fighting in cities, right? So the
Mm.
biggest difference is like in World War II, there was a lot of urban warfare, and urban
100%,
warfare
yeah.
really kind of shaped how you do your engagements, along with automatic weapon systems. So like heavy implementation of submachine guns and assault rifles. So it kind of it leads to the influence of that. But I guess segueing back into what we're talking about in terms of like grips, yeah, like there's nothing new about vertical grips, but it's all about preference of angle. But
Hmm.
seriously, like
Mhm.
offset grips, man,
And
just like
the most important part we're talking about here is like, yeah, you could accessorize this as much as you want. You could put whatever you want
mhm,
on it, but practice with it.
100%.
Because if if you figured out that you can't reload with that AK because that long ass like grip is getting in your way, and you're like, wait, this doesn't work.
Well, it's
Yeah, exactly.
like I don't want to say it, but there's almost like two extra steps, sort of,
Mhm,
with AK reloads. But not saying that it makes an AK reload longer, because I have seen AK reloads just as fast as M4 reloads. It's just that
mhm.
there's that much more you got to consider when you practice, just
Yeah,
because of the way it is, right?
Exactly.
man, we dove deep into that.
Yeah, well, so
Well, I mean,
that's
grips
foregrips
is
and
a
stuff like
sticky
that.
issue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Grips is a
Well,
sticky issue. Got it.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my god.
exactly. Well, so
Sorry.
let's not beat around the bush, boys. Our next one here is sights and optics. That's a
Oh,
juicy
Oh
topic right in
Ooh, bread
itself.
and butter.
God.
I'm gonna stay with
Mm.
Mm.
irons. Okay, irons hands down. If you're gonna start with with your airsoft gun, learn with your irons first so that you know where it's
I
going.
will second that. Yeah.
Because when you
Mhm.
Hell yeah.
train, if you're doing marksmanship with your optics and you go to irons, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? What if your sights, or everything else fails, right? You need to know where your
Mhm.
BBs are landing, it so that you practice with irons first. You practice what came with your gun first. Flip up those irons, use them. Get the feel of it. Get how your BBs are stupidly curving everywhere.
Mhm.
Whatever, right? Get used to it
I think
first.
what
A one up on
yeah.
you on that one point.
Yeah.
You
It's
just
one of
you,
those
you
things where
take your
where,
irons
where
off,
people where
okay?
people just add so many accessories and then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
bam, they
Exactly.
lose their marksmanship
Mm.
skills, right?
Mhm.
Right. Start with
I think
Well,
that.
I
they
think one of the
even
important parts too is to remember to sight your gun in with your irons before you
Hmm.
yeah,
sight in your optic.
exactly,
And
yeah.
that's a big one to remind people because a lot of people don't think about that and they'll sight into the optic and then they'll take the optic off and like, hey, wait, my gun's not shooting straight. It's like, no, well, you sighted it to something else. Initially, you're supposed to start with the weapon itself and the platform given.
Yeah.
Irons are like your absolute must if you need to go to. But all I gotta say is, if you're gonna run irons during the night, good luck.
I run irons. What are you talking? Then again, I have NVGs and I just use the laser.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just gonna say, shut up. Like, okay, well, and then here the disclaimer. I have to say it
I
right
use
away because some
irons.
people. No, I gotta say this right away.
Good.
Okay, so in airsoft per se, you do not need an optic. Okay, I don't care about the people who say I need an optic. You don't need an optic. Half of you are bore
Hmm.
shooting anyway. I watch you. You
Yeah.
don't even know how to hold a gun properly. Stop lying to me. And then moving on from that, then we have some people who actually, can
Mm-hmm.
actually hold a rifle stance and, like, actually proper cheek well and stuff like that, who care about eye relief, or, but then again, you also have the guys who have like a ×9 rifle scope, and they have it on like a SMG, and I'm like, what's going on? Why? It's, I need to see my BBs, and I'm like, dude, your BBs are flying like 200 feet max. Okay, like let's not
Yeah,
let's not let's not let's not play around here. Okay, you
I
do
would.
not need that. You do not.
I will probably state like an unpopular opinion, but I think magnified optics and airsoft are almost useless. I really don't see much of a use to them unless you're using a
Yes.
sniper rifle.
Yeah.
But the distances that we're engaging at are so bloody close, man. You really don't need it.
Unless
So
you're
I mean,
blind or ego
yeah,
stroking yourself, where it's just like, yeah, I hit
Well,
that
that's
guy.
it. That's it. It's like, I want to see the BB hit the guy, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude,
No,
your
no.
BB's not
And
hitting
I
that
need
guy.
that optic
Okay.
for my SR25 and SR16. Okay, it looks cool. Gucci.
yeah. I mean, it does. It does for the looks and the appeal. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you're gonna use a magnified optic, I have, and I might dabble back into them again.
Yeah.
I don't think you need anything more than a 4x.
No.
Because once you start getting higher
Nope.
than that, you get
Exactly.
major
Okay.
tunnel vision to the point where you lose focus,
Honestly,
right?
if I'm using my sniper rifle, like my ASG
Mm-hmm.
M40, I don't even have that thing dialed into 16. I have it dialed into like 2 or 3. That's it. Like,
Yeah, dude, you might as well just throw a freaking ACOG on it, or a red dot.
Mhm.
Okay,
no,
that's all you
I
need.
like
That's
my eye
all you need.
relief. Okay, all right.
All you need is
Variable
the
zoom
$20
optics have no
Amazon.
place in airsoft whatsoever. Okay.
All
Like,
you need is the $20 Amazon flip to magnification special. All right, boys.
Oh
that's
man,
actually not that bad of a scope.
with the
Okay.
non-crystal clear glass.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
thanks.
That
Oh,
yeah,
it's
gets
the
horrible.
one,
mounted
It's
wrong. You're just
absolutely
looking on an
horrible.
angle.
the one that fogs up when you breathe on it
Oh,
wrong.
yeah.
What do you mean it's not nitrogen filled? That seems to be odd.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my
Oh
god.
man.
Yeah,
Or you,
I've
go
I've
to
seen a lot of players with those, with the flip up sites, and then oh my gosh, like the first thing you see them on a cold weather is like, oh, it's done. I can't see
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah, it's good.
Even-
Goodbye.
And then he
Even
flips it
better if
over.
starts raining. Even
Oh yeah,
better if it starts raining.
yeah,
Because
raining
people can't use
condensation
optics
is
half the
crazy.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a big one. Or it just kills your red dot. That's the other one.
yeah. So let's get in here. Sights, optics. We just talked
Mhm.
about irons, a must
Yep.
for when you're first time training. Let's get out of the way. Some people don't like iron sights because of the fact that it's like basic bitch weapon. I'm like, but it's important to train with it. Let's just get it out of the way.
Mhm.
So once we've
Mm.
trained with your weapon, you know how it's shooting, right? Let's move up to, let's say, a red dot, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the first thing that people want to see is like, oh yeah, no, I want to see what I'm hitting at, without having to like, train down like, let's say an HK sight or something. We know how awful those things are.
Mhm.
Because it is
What
just
do
a
you mean?
small
Drum
little.
sights are great.
Yeah, winning the airsoft.
Yeah.
So we move into red dots, right? So you got
Mhm.
your standard, like, I guess EOTechs, you got your aim points, you got all these popular names, very expensive,
Mhm.
right? What are we looking at for, let's start with the repros first, the China-made stuff, the aim sites, the, whatever, who else makes it? Like NC Star makes them too.
Mhm.
Um, like a lot of like white label Chinese products that come in from China. And Dave, you were saying that they're not actually like actual red dot projection,
True
or
sights.
yeah, true, like
Yeah.
sights. They're actually just
So
projected into a glass, right?
airsoft airsoft sights, generally speaking, are all reflex sights in essence.
There you
Um,
go.
like real red dot sights in many ways are too, but airsoft sights are very simple at best. They're meant to imitate, and the best example for that is like airsoft EOTechs. They're not a true holographic sight because you have two planes of glass. You have a diode that emits basically light essentially to hit it, to project it. Whereas in actual EOTech, you have a single pane and then it's a refractoral image that comes through it, similar to how you have a heads-up display in a fighter aircraft.
Yeah.
So it looks almost like it's not there. That's the whole idea behind it. There's no parallax and all that kind of stuff. So airsoft EOTechs, like I steer clear of them. Like, whew, I don't know, man. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole anymore because the amount of issues that you get either with the glass itself not being treated, or it's treated and you're like trying to look through a sunshade basically. So I mean, they're good in their own right and sense of imitation, but for purpose and function, like you're really cutting close and kind of chopping off the bar, right? Your next best bet would just to go to a red dot or a reflex. And red dots and
Mhm.
reflexes are simple, and they're like really hard to screw up. So they're just good to start with, and some of them do have a little bit of parallax, but you know,
So
there's
for the younger
yeah
viewers out there, if people who don't know, what is the meaning of parallax in terms of like running
yeah.
off of
So
this thing?
parallax is when you look through your optic and you move it around on your body, or you shift your head, and the dot moves. So it won't stay in one place; it'll shift. And it's what is it? It's a refraction, kind of like looking in a mirror at your own reflection.
Yep.
If you start moving around, you'll notice that the mirror seems like it's shifting to a certain degree, and it actually isn't. Whereas a proper reflex sight or a proper red dot, let alone holographic sight, there's almost no parallax, so it won't shift. It'll kind of just stay there. So it's what they call like it shoots true to the aim.
Yeah.
Is the best way to
Exactly.
describe it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where your bore is pointing, and then where the
It's
red where the
wherever
laser
your sight
hits.
is pointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you move
So like
away from your sights and then come back to
yeah,
it. Yeah.
exactly. So like for those out there who buy repros and say they're great for everything, they are if you're looking down the sight.
Yeah.
But if you're not, good luck. So at that point, like you're gonna start guesstimating. But that's really like
What's this?
one of
No.
go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just saying it's like those quick snapshots that you're
Yeah.
talking about exactly, right? Because when you're not perfectly aligned down, right?
Hmm.
Like in those senses that's where like the quality and like the money is gonna
Hmm.
and it's the amount of abuse that it can take too, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well, the technology too. That's kind of a big one.
mhm,
Airsoft sites are dumb and cheap. There's nothing wrong with that. They're like stupid proof, so to speak. But I will say this much: like varying weather really does play huge effect on airsoft optics. I can't begin to explain how many repros I went through back in the day
Mm-hmm.
where they would just die on cold days from battery life, or they would wash out if they had like an auto gating feature and there was too much sunlight. And the worst was if it rained. If it rained, some of them it would soak through and it would just completely screw the electrical system on the inside because they're not actually
mhm.
watertight.
They're not weather
They're
sealed.
water
Yeah.
resistant. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Same
cheap
goes with
sites
like,
isn't the way to go then.
yeah.
But I mean, for an airsofter coming in,
Hmm.
every other day, and they just need
Definitely
to
go with
aim
it. Like,
something and shoot, and they see like a dot, a circle, a
mhm.
reticle, whatever. Yeah, works for you. That's fine.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you're on a budget, like there's nothing wrong with it. Like you can start there and work your way up, but keep in mind too, that's also where they get you. Because you'll
Mm-hmm.
end up buying more than one repro, and I guarantee it. Nobody buys one repro and goes, "Oh, I like this, and I'm going to stick with it." They end up getting three or four more, and then suddenly you have six optics, and you have almost $600 sitting in front of you. Whereas you could put the money in some cases to something a little bit better, and you get more life and longer use out of it.
Gotcha.
So
To one
it really
real.
depends, right? Yeah,
So we should
that
move.
yeah,
We
that's
should
where you
move into the
transition.
real steel world at that point, which what they're
Hmm.
using. So the cheapest version
Yeah.
for real steel is like something like I think Trigger sells it is a Hollow Sun. A
Hmm.
lot of real still guys debate whether it is good or not because for them it
Hmm.
feels like repro for them because they're emulating what the real guys do like EOTech or
Yeah.
Aimpoint or anything that's what they're doing is it's basically a China brand. Let's be honest here. So, like
Well,
Hollow Sun
it's
is
budget friendly, right?
it's budget
Yeah.
friendly for real steel guys, but for airsofters,
It's
how is it? I know you've used some.
I think they're brilliant for the purpose of airsoft. Like to go spend $200 or 250
Yeah,
on a hollow sign is not a bad investment.
like
They're
you were
almost
saying,
100%.
you're
Yeah.
already going through 3 repros
Hmm.
before you figured out like, oh, I could just buy a Hollow Sun.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, it's a great stepping stone. There's also other like mid-tier grade real optics that you can buy from like Cabela's or something that
Yep.
are relatively affordable,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Bushnells or
NC
I would even
Stars. Yeah.
yeah, I would argue NC Star are too. There's nothing
Walrus.
terribly wrong with them for airsoft. It all depends on look too in many cases because a lot of people really go for the look factor. And if you're going for looks, it's kind of hard to settle because they look different. They're not one to one.
They're
But in terms
they're
of
they're they're
technology,
they don't look like the
yeah,
551s or the 552s that they
exactly,
expect or the T3s or the T1s that they want to see,
precisely.
right? Yeah. But
But
they work though. They work.
yeah, Yeah, and
Yeah.
the thing is, like, the technology in holosuns are actually good. They're not a completely dumb sight. They're sealed properly. They're designed to be used on real weapon systems, and at the same time, like, your battery life is excellent. So it's an affordable, I guess, high end China clone optic is what you. Well, it's not a clone, pardon me, but a
No.
high end China optic that you
Yeah.
would buy. So I mean, I like them. I have one, and I'm putting one on a gun that I'm building right now. So I can't knock them that much, and they're good on the wallet too. They're not that heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you guys, what is a preference for your sights? For me, it is like a standard T3 aim point. That's my favorite on an M4 platform because I could just
Mhm.
quickly bring it up and then a
Hmm.
dot's right there. It's a repro, right? I'm gonna be honest. Like if I'm shooting like way lower than expected, right, the dot is still there. I know that it's not accurate, so I gotta bring it up, cheek weld it right away, and then I have a
Hmm.
true sight, right? That for me
Mhm.
that works. The repro works for me. I don't mind that. It works. You know, I'm stupid. I keep forgetting to turn off the damn thing every time I store it. So you know, I spend more on batteries than anything else, honestly. But for me that works. I used to be a big fan of the 551s.
Hmm.
You know, the classic, you know, army look. But other than that, like, yeah, what's your guys' favorite for sights?
Tack, you
Mac?
want to go?
Okay. Well, so for myself, I think red dots have its place and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Again, I'd like to reiterate on the whole thing about the whole zoomed optics and stuff like that, or variable optics. Um, I honestly don't see a point in it unless you actually want to see your shot hitting the person, just because
Yeah.
of the fact that, like, that's just all it is, unless you're using it as a scouting tool or something like that. I
Hmm.
think binoculars would probably work better and are cheaper,
Yeah.
but that's me on that. So with that said, I'd probably choose a red dot when it comes to like a CQB situation. But what a lot of people don't realize too is that on certain guns or certain sites, like sorry, like the EOTechs and stuff like that, like with the holographic sites. Depending on which reticle you get or use, right? They you can use them for was it I think 50 yards, 200 yards,
Hmm.
all the way up to I think they have some of the reticles that go up to like 500 yards and stuff like that, and then the bottom of the site is like 7 yards. So if you learn how like, and that's talking in like like it being used in a real situation and stuff like that. Obviously airsoft ranges are going to vary and stuff like that, and you're going to have to figure that out on your own sort of thing. But you're going to have like those extra lines and markers on your site for you to be able
Your
to
mil
sort of.
dots?
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like well, I don't know if they're mil dots, I guess, are they still called mil dots on hollow,
No.
No.
right? Like
No.
they
Oh,
would
for
just
the
have like,
hollows. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So they would have their
It'd
different
be like
ticks,
a
right?
hash mark or something.
And
Yeah.
Hmm.
so like all you would do is you would learn to reference the range relative to how your platform is, and then from there, you don't need a zoomed optic, right? Like you can just use those markers and still be effective in like an airsoft sense. So that's where my perspective sort of comes from, is that
Hmm.
you do have other options that you can do. And like for my favorite optic, I'm like I'm saying, is I'm an EOTech kind of guy just because of the classic sort of army look and stuff like that. Like if I had a choice, it's either the 552, like in sort of like the
The
sort of,
compact one.
well, the
Yeah.
look of it for is it because it's like it's a night vision compatible holographic sight versus the 551. Well,
Hmm.
with and then if I were to use it for another combo, I'd use the XPS2 with a variable flip to sight optic on there, just because that's another classic look
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Mac.
Yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
Meg. That's
well,
that's
just
it for me there.
well, just expanding because like I already have this standpoint where it's like I'm not really using my optics a lot, so I do definitely shift over towards the guy, um, who's there for the looks. So Tack
Hmm.
and I, we share a lot of things. So I think we have like two Repro Trijicon ACOGs, and
Hmm.
they work great. I
We
love them.
had two. We only have one now.
Oh, right, we only have one. But, it's 4 times, it's not bad, it gives me enough
Yeah.
zoom that I can see things, so I don't need to see further than that. I'm not trying to see where my BBs are, it's literally just for, like, looking, because
Mhm.
most of the time I just shoot volume of fire, because that's who I am, HPA for life. Um, But then sorry to hurt your brains, guys, but then I
Mhm.
do love so when I first started airsoft, tac helped me set it up, but I went with that classic like Navy SEAL. Like I had a 5.52 hollow, I had the
Hmm.
3 times optical flip to side scope mounted behind it and everything like that. um and so for that, I definitely will go towards like the name brands and stuff, but again, like I don't have like a real steel firearm to mount like a real EOTech on or something like that. If I did, I would go and spend the money on that
Yeah.
because right, it would be worth it in that sense. But I have no problem getting like the cheap China knockoffs and stuff like that. Like I've got like an RMR for my pistol and stuff like that. That's like a Trigicon Repro and stuff. And you
Hmm.
know, yes, I do
Looks cool.
like dry fire. Yeah, exactly. Like I like dry
Yeah.
fire training and everything like that, but it definitely adds an aesthetic look to it. So
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm. Mhm.
man. I'm gonna change this up. This is gonna be interesting because
Mhm.
you guys all like EOTechs, and as much as I like
well, the
hollows,
Vortex sight's not bad. I like that one.
yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
I like I like reflex sights. And I mean,
Mm.
I guess out of everyone here, I'm the only one that uses real optics, and I use Mepro lights. So I use the M21s, which is it's a self-powered optic. There's no batteries in it. It's either tritium or fiber optic, and it auto gates depending on how much light is around in the room, which I actually really like because it sticks to sort of how much ambient light is in a given area. The only issue that you run into is washout when you're looking from a dark space into a brighter space, which you'll always kind of run into when you have anything that auto gates. The way to mitigate that though is you can get like a oh shit, what is it called? You can get an adjuster essentially that adjusts how much light comes through the front of the optic, so you
It's
can
like a
basically
it's like a
Like a kill
it's
The
like
night,
a
flash,
yeah
kill
the
flash,
the
isn't it?
the
yeah kind of
nightcap,
it,
the nightcap
you
from Generation
a
Kill.
nightcap.
yeah
I like that.
so
I like that.
nightcap, but you can adjust it essentially with how much light comes in, so you can see the dot again, especially if you're looking into a very bright space. But I find they work really well, and other than that, it's a bomb-proof optic, so it doesn't really matter what I do to it, it just won't break. And I switched over from Repro optics to real steel about 3 years ago, and real optics it's hard to go back because you have something that is so like good and like just stiff. You don't need to change it, which
Mhm.
which I really, really, really do like about them. And I mean, it's the same thing with Hollow Sun, which I've recently adopted. And Hollow Suns are just one of those things. It's just like you buy it, you don't need to buy another one again.
Yeah.
It's just good to go.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
I
I
for,
guess.
I
Sorry,
I
go ahead.
forgot to mention actually, it's like because you guys were talking about fiber optic sites, and that's something that I forgot to touch on actually, is that
Hmm.
if you're the type of person who doesn't want to buy batteries and stuff like that, right? Fiber optics is
Fiber
always a
optic.
great option. Like Mac
Yeah.
was saying about the Trigicon ones that we had.
It's
Unfortunately, the
great.
one that I did lose was the one with the fiber optic
Hmm.
on it, and one of the cool things is, if you want to add the aesthetic to the whole military kind of thing, you can add the black tape on it, so you can adjust how much light you're adding into it and stuff like that. But again, those are a great option, especially in the repro sense for airsoft, because
Yeah.
it does exactly what it's supposed to do. It grabs
Just
the light, illuminates it, gives you a target and stuff like
yeah.
that to shoot at.
Just be aware, like with the airsoft versions of them, the real ones have tritium in them, which is
Hmm.
like a radioactive substance to create glow, so you can use them at night.
Yeah.
The
Hmm.
airsoft versions don't have any of that, so if you think that you can transition over to low light shooting, forget about it. Like it's gone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Well,
it's just a
so they
It's
consideration.
will
it's
take like a
black on
little bit.
black.
Hmm.
Well, so they will take a little bit of ambient light, but like you're saying, yes, they do not work like in pitch black or something like that, right? But
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
have
Yeah.
used that
Moonlight,
sight.
it works. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, exactly. So I have used that, but in that sense, you are night fighting. What the hell are
Hmm.
you doing using your sights anyway?
This is why
Well,
you
you should
train
be
with
able
iron
to.
sights.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's why I kind of like the whole 5.52 one because it's night
Yeah.
vision compatible
Yeah,
stuff like
we'll touch on like night vision behind optics because that's an interesting subject later on.
that.
uh,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I guess I'll
It
hop
depends
into
on your
the
distances, really, right?
Hmm.
I'll hop
Mm.
into the
Flashlights and NVGs.
no. Since we're still in optics, I'll hop into the long range scopes. So we'll just dive into it just a little bit
Ooh,
because I have a
Mhm.
little bit of experience
trash.
based on date and stuff anyway. But
Hmm.
because using like then we're talking about like from 2 times to like 16 times like scopes now. right?
Mhm.
The only tip I could give you is like, yeah, those things are built for just long range shooting or reconnaissance at that point, because you're using that thing, you're using like a magnification optic at that point just so that you can see much further than what your eyes can see. I could see the appeal to it because you
Exactly.
are seeing where your shots are landing. That's if you could shoot that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
But if you're
It also
not,
takes
you're just using it for reconnaissance too at this point.
yeah.
Um,
Keep in mind too, like every time you use a magnified optic, it takes away your peripheral vision.
yeah,
People
Yep.
in airsoft in general have a really
You
bad
tunnel
habit
out.
of getting tunnel vision.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
So
tunnel
like,
vision is one of those things where that's why it's left to the recon guys to do that.
hmm
And doing
Well, I
recon
mean, and
work.
at that point, you're just reading my patches.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
yeah,
but doing recon work with Dayton, one of those things where I have adapted to how scopes works and stuff, because using my M40 has taught me a lot of things. Um, true, what a good scope is. For me, Dayton
hmm
is basically the eye relief, right? That is the number one like challenge that we have, is like getting that eye relief perfect, because not all like repro scopes, especially the cheap ends, are
Oh
perfect.
yeah,
You have a huge front sort of element, and then you get a huge back element, and then all of
hmm
a sudden you look down on it, it's like, wow, there's like so many black spots on the side. For some people, they haven't adjusted it to the proper eye relief
hmm
area. For some people it's too close, some people it's too far, right? You gotta adjust that. It's not one
yeah,
of those things where it's set in stone to how your eyes work, right? And then you have to adjust your dioptics at the front. You have to adjust the focus lens at the
hmm
your dioptics at the back, your focus lens at the front. You gotta adjust that as well. And as well, sometimes you're just zooming in way too much. Step it back to all the way up to 2 or whatever the
hmm
minimum magnification is, right? And
yeah,
then you're gonna get a proper view of what you're having. Then you zoom in when you need to zoom in, right? You're starting off at the lowest setting, and then go all the way up to what's comfortable for you. When you're holding it, especially, it's just a wobbly mess of you trying to hold it, right? And then you trying to sight in or trying to picture in what's down your sight. So you got to
yeah,
practice with it. And yeah, my number one sort of thing to look at is, once you're looking for quality lenses, you could get, again, there's a lot of China made sort of rifle scopes out there that are like,
hmm
80 to like $150. You get something at the repro level, which is like $40, then you're looking at really bad like glass and stuff, properly or not, improperly optimized to how they're supposed to be.
oh,
Versus you get something that is supposed to mount on a rifle, then you're gonna get a little bit more perfection in the glass, a little bit more perfection, and like when you shoot, it's not gonna like off center all of a sudden all the lenses that they have
hmm
in there. So that's like
yeah.
the
One of the
number one tip I'm gonna give you guys is like, yeah, look for, you don't need like a high power scope
hmm
one. If you do, then if you're going for cheap ones, then you pay for what you get. You get what
yeah,
you paid for. But if you go for the low quality, rifle ones, then it's still good, right? You just, again, you got to adjust to all these settings that I just mentioned to you, because you got to make sure it's for you, not you pass it on to another guy, it's gonna be a little bit different on how his eyes work and stuff.
yeah. Field of view is a big one too.
Yeah.
A lot of airsoft repro optics have a horrid field of view in
Oh yeah.
terms of like how much input they take in. So even though you can zoom in and sure it goes like 4 to 5 times, you're
16.
like, oh man,
Yeah.
yeah, you're like, this is awesome. Like I'm looking down. You're actually looking down like the version of a toilet paper tube, whereas a lot of real optics, the field of view is massive, so it picks up a lot of information. And when you're zooming in, it's almost like in some video games where you look down the optic, you can almost see more basically of what's downrange with a slight magnification
Yeah.
to it at the same time
And then
on
you
a
get you
lower
get you get
power.
you get and then with bad scopes, you get a little bit of what they call like chromatic aberration, where it's
Oh
basically
yeah, with
like
like the fisheye.
yeah, you get like
Yeah.
two images sort of like splicing, because it's not
hmm
the optics are not properly aligned, and you're seeing the colors that are being split up at the at your eye end, and you're like,
Yeah.
why is the image blurry, or why is the image like and if you understand what chromatic aberration is, basically like splitting the colors into three, and then
Yeah.
it's shifting a
That
bit.
happens that happens a lot with airsoft optics, especially the magnified ones in particular. And then the issue that you run into with that is like the quality of the glass too. In many cases, is very poor.
Yeah.
So the amount of light intake that it takes in, it actually is for like repro optics, it's particularly hard for them to pick up light in darker spaces. Whereas you can buy higher quality optics that are much more sensitive to the image that comes in and almost amplifies it
Yeah.
slightly, so you can see better through it. It's almost night and day. I mean, I've looked through both like airsoft and real optics in comparison, and it's very very hard to not pick out the differences between the two in terms of quality. But I will give the caveat to this to repro optics is they are coming up in quality nowadays, but they're also going up in price,
Yeah.
which is something to keep in mind too. Because I've seen guys in airsoft pay, was it $400 for a copy of an Elka Inspector DR, and it
Yeah.
baffles me because it's not terrible, but it isn't great either too.
They're
And
they're
it's
they're
a
paying
lot of
you're
money.
they're paying
It's
for the
not even
look.
Yeah,
They're
It's
paying
not
for the
even
look.
variable. I've
Yeah.
seen
yeah.
them, and I'm just like, come on, at least give me like variable optic at like the most
A working
crappiest,
one, yeah.
Yeah.
even
Mhm.
at the most shittiest degree. It's just like it could just be
Yeah.
a mirror that flips inside there. I don't give a shit.
They did make them for a while, I will say that much, and then they stopped making them because they were so shitty. Every time you flipped the switch, it would not only throw off your sights, but in some cases it would get stuck. And
So
you
the
would have
lens get lodged halfway
yeah.
through.
I
Oh,
could
Yeah,
see
and
that.
you'd get this really weird sort of pain in between. So I guess after a while they're like, nope, we
I've
can't do this
I've
anymore.
I've I've
Just
I've seen that with the ACOG sites where you've used it
yeah.
so many times that the actual crosshairs go sideways, 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 and you're like, why is it
Mm,
pointing this way now? Yeah,
GG at that point.
yeah, pretty
Oh
The
my
much.
god.
sight
So
post
so
is just gone.
I think the long story short here is, if you're looking for optics or anything that has magnification, yeah, if you're buying cheap, it's okay. If you're just
Hmm.
going for the looks, or if you have a certain budget, that's fine.
Don't expect a lot though.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but if you're going for
You're paying
something
for
that,
what you get.
if you're going for something that you're gonna use constantly, like especially my M40 and stuff like that, like I know I'm gonna be using it a lot. I'm gonna be out in the woods.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be knocking this thing around. I paid a little bit more, 150 more, and then it costs more than the M40 actually. The gun, it's the scope itself costs more than the gun, right? So then you get what you paid for there, because that's spec to
Yeah.
like fire on like a 5.56, right? So that's what it's spec for. So yeah, like it's up to you guys how you want to use it, and what the looks you're looking for. I think it all just boils down to what you're looking for and what how you're using it. I mean, I don't know. What about you guys? What do you say? Like, are you gonna go real steel or are you gonna go repro?
It depends, like
Hmm.
depends. Well, you know what? I'll be flat out on it. Depends on my income situation. That's flat out it, right? Like, 'cause if I have the disposable income, I'm totally gonna spend it on that
Amen.
shit because I'm
Amen.
about
Yeah.
I'm about that flex. But if I don't have it, well, I'm gonna have to keep my mouth shut and be a poor in
He's
the
like,
corner.
I'll wait until I can flex. I'll
Yeah,
wait until I can
exactly.
flex.
Well, you're like, one day, Trigicon. Shh, one day.
Well, I'm literally that Pepe meme where he's wearing the MVGs, but he's in the corner crying because he took him forever. It's just like, I got it, guys, but
all,
I
all,
made
all
it.
my friends don't even play anymore.
I made it. I made it, boys.
Hold
At
on,
what
hold on, guys.
cost?
I gotta call my mom to pick me up. I bought NVGs instead of a car.
What about you,
It's not a
David?
bad choice.
Repro
I
or
just want to let the
real
teenagers
steel?
know that's not a bad choice.
No, it isn't. For me, I'm gonna put a long answer in this one. I'm one of those guys that's invested into technology. If I'm gonna buy technology, I'm gonna pay the money for what it's worth. I'm past the point of imitating it now because I want to get the purpose out of it that I desire, so to speak, which is how the optic is supposed to work initially. So I'll buy a real optic. So yeah, I'll probably go below $1,800 at some point on a Tridricon. So, but up until then,
Oh
yeah,
man.
that's my stance.
Max, sorry.
Oh, well, I'm just never going to touch a variable zoom optic. I'm not the type to pick up like a rifle.
So just irons, gotcha.
Yeah, his
Well,
glasses.
no, I mean,
his glasses are magnified. That's why.
Yeah,
Ah!
this is HD. This is HD. I
Oh,
see in
man.
1080p. But no, all being said, right, is like I'm not the type to touch that kind of like platform, so I'm not gonna need that kind of thing. And I've already expressed that like if I had to, it's gonna be me relying on like a red dot or some kind of reflex site, like David was saying, or I might throw on like literally like a a variable like 3 times at the most in that sense. But I'm also pairing it with something else. So like yeah, I'm gonna set up the way I play, so I am engaging in short distances, so I don't need to weigh myself down with some big bulky optic.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that's another deep dive into another rabbit hole there.
Yeah.
No,
On to the next burrow.
on to the next thing. Yeah, no, it's interesting to see what everybody's opinions is on it here. Like all of us have different opinions on it and play styles and different use, so it's great to hear. Hopefully, if any of the audience member have any like sites that they like to use or optics or red dots or reflex sites or
Stuff
anything,
that they've run into.
yeah,
Yeah.
drop it down in the
Mhm.
comments and we'll see if we can read it off for the next video. All right.
Well, I want to hear their negative experiences too, because if people have something that they like have bought and like have not had a good time with, right? Like, definitely like you got to take people's 2 cents for it because like I've bought my fair share of optics and I know I would tell people to stay away
Mhm.
from certain ones. So, like yeah, that's what I want to hear.
All right, let's move on to the next topics here. So, front end, the business end of the rifle, suppressors, tracers, flash hiders. Ooh, I like
This should be
my I
fun.
like my GBBRs loud. So I'm gonna start off by saying the loudners or whatever what are those
Poppers.
The war
whatever
pigs.
yeah like whatever's at the front that just
Yeah.
amplifies it. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
my
or an
favorite in
amplified
CQB.
muzzle flash or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. That's my favorite in CQB. Just hearing the clack. Yeah. So there you go. That's my opinion on it. Yeah. Let's start off with the what do you guys mount at the front of your guns? Just a standard like flash hider that comes with a gun, or what? Do you customize it, or
Who's
anybody?
going first? Who's
Okay.
going
Well,
first?
I have a suppressor. I have a number of suppressors. Um, and so I do mount suppressors on some of my guns, and then I do also have a suppressor slash tracer unit combo that my brother got me for Christmas
Nice.
a few years back,
Acer Tech,
and it was
or
yeah, it's an Ace Tech Predator, so it's like the Knights Armament Honeycomb 5.56 with
mm,
full trades. It's great. I love it. And it's got the QD. It comes with it comes with its own flash hider that you have to pair, so you can use it to
yeah, it's
be
a QD.
quick
Yeah.
detach.
Mhm.
Exactly. So it's a really great thing. You don't have to use the tracer unit. You can run it without it, which is great because some people just like rocking a mock suppressor. Um, and I've never been much to care about what a flash hider looks like. So yeah, that's just kind of where I sit on that.
Okay. Shoot. I guess I'll go next. Um, I'm pretty basic. I like flash hiders. I don't think you really need anything around that. As much as I think suppressors are super cool, unless you have some sort of foam to dampen the initial pop at the end of the muzzle to kind of snuff it a little bit, I don't really see much of a point in them. Yeah, I do see the point in tracers. I will admit I do like that idea. But I'm not the kind of guy that wants to give myself away at night if I'm engaging people. I would just rather stay kind of subvert. So I just run flash hiders.
So
Yeah, I'm pretty basic
So
and
to
boring.
contrary to you giving away your position at night, in some night games, the rule is when you're firing, you would
Yeah,
turn
you need to have a
on
tracer.
you would turn on your light to simulate whatever firing, right, and then turn it off
Mm.
afterwards when you're firing. So that is some of the rules for night games. Julian's game.
Then I should consider buying a
Yeah,
tracer just for that purpose
yeah.
then.
So
But
so so
yeah.
to counter that, you need a tracer unit to then
Hmm.
counter turning on your lights, right? So tracer units tend to be one of those things where you don't have to aim down sight. You're just basically following your tracers. Follow my tracers,
Yeah.
sort of deal, right? So
Tracer unit, salt and pepper mix. There
yeah.
you go.
Yep,
Exactly.
Red,
that's
green,
exactly
red,
what's
green,
coming
red.
to mind right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You. What about you, Tech?
So I guess Like I'm into everything. So I got suppressors and stuff like that, but I don't use mock suppressors, I guess, in that sense. Like I actually use them for trying to
Hmm.
dampen the sounds in airsoft, especially when it comes to like the HPA systems, because that's where you can sort of maximize that effect just because of how much control you have with the air volume in the total system that's being expelled. It's a lot harder to do with an AEG just because the cylinder volume is sort of like kind of,
Hmm.
it's there, it exists. You can short stroke your stuff. You can get a bigger can or whatever it is. You can try and do the math to figure out what kind of, can you want to put in at the end to dampen the sound and stuff like that. Because you can make an AEG really, really quiet, with the
Hmm.
advances of like a lot of the MOSFETs and stuff like that, with the aid of precocking and stuff. It really takes out that like initial spin of the gears and stuff. So when all you
The
hear is
wind
just
up,
the,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so all you hear is just the pop and stuff like that as someone shooting. You can mask that really, really easily. Now, mind you, when it comes to airsoft and stuff like that, there's a real, I guess I will say the word fetish to being quiet, and I don't really know why. Because like,
Yeah.
let's but like, yeah, let's be honest. Like, if this was real life, or like real guns or whatever it is, that you fucking they they ain't gonna be as
Quiet
quiet as
goes so out the yeah.
well,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
like all quiet means in like the term for real guns is that I don't have to wear ear protection while I'm shooting at you.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like that's all it really means to me when it comes to that sense. So like
Yeah. Well, the
we
best way to put it is when you go bump, you're
really,
you know you're already
mhm,
you're going bumping. I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah,
the only true quiet guns in airsoft are bolt action guns.
Yep. And
yeah,
I was
Exactly.
just about to dive
Exactly.
into that.
exactly.
If you have a proper suppressor with actual like sound suppressing
Hmm.
foams and stuff,
Baffles or
and
foam.
then you baffle it like what Dayton does, he baffles his M40
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
proper baffling. That thing at a range that he's able to strike at 150 feet, right? He's able to like send a shot out and not like emit his signature at all. But
Hmm.
Hmm.
you as a target, you'll get hit, or if he misses, you'll hear it zoom by, and that's it. You're
Hmm.
not hearing his initial like shot
Yeah.
out or anything like
Hmm.
that,
Hmm.
right? Without it, you will, if you're paying attention and you know where he is, you will hear that shot out, and then
Hmm.
that zoom by afterwards.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, hiding, like especially for his role, if he's hiding and like in like, and especially if he's in like full like ghillie, like you're not gonna see him when he sends that shot out, and you're not gonna see that signature right away. So
Hmm.
that is when you properly use a suppressor, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Other than that, what is that other pistol? The like a closed
Mark
bolt.
Mark
23.
Yeah,
23.
Mark
Yeah.
23, and then there's other
Yeah.
ones that are like closed bolt as well for the new ones that just came out, the AP something from
Well,
Oh,
the
the
AP-12 is still a,
AP001,
yeah.
yeah,
like
it's
the
still a,
assassin or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. If you put a suppressor on that and you properly
Hmm.
baffle it, it's gonna be quiet either way. So
I.
it's as quiet as like
Mhm.
it's still loud because it's still
oh,
a
okay.
blowback gun,
What
right?
about that one you're
So
working on, David? A while back, that pistol that had the
Oh, what is it? The Mark
Mark 12 or something like
shoot.
that.
No, the Mark 1. It was
no,
Mark
yeah,
one, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it
yeah.
was
I know.
original.
I
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
you're
one
working
that's
at
the
that.
old
That was
style
pretty quiet too,
piece.
as well. So things like that, it does make sense to put a can on it, and then you're basically
Yeah.
suppressing the sound. And
I
yeah,
mean, it comes down to like preference in terms of like what you're trying to suppress really,
yeah,
because
Hmm.
airsoft in its essence is already technically speaking very quiet.
hmm,
Yeah.
So like mitigating the sound to a point where it sounds like a fart in the wind, which is essentially what a lot of airsofters are going for,
yeah,
Yeah.
is one of those things that it sounds awesome, but there's very, very few platforms you can legitimately do that with. The only other one I can think of that comes to mind is actually the HPA N7 system that
Hmm.
comes from Redline, which is a pneumatic system, so there's no electronic trigger, and it's just like straight air. It is. I built one into a 416 for a guy. It was stupid how quiet it was when I put a suppressor on it. I was shocked, but I mean, you give and you take. I think suppressors and airsoft are more novelty,
yeah.
and then you get the guys who don't put anything in it, and it sounds like a fucking laser gun from range, just a through a tube.
Hmm.
That stuff is
So
priceless.
you're saying suppressors are mainly just for looks, and to add
100%.
to add another
Yeah.
couple of inches in front of your gun in CQB. Cool.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, but I have seen suppressors we were talking about in handguards where it's shrouded into like a Mark 18, right? Like the handguard actually goes all the way through the end, almost at the end of that suppressor, and it
Yep.
looks
Hmm.
awesome. That
It's a
looks
it's a
cool.
very clean look.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a clean look. A lot of people like that look too, and
hmm
I don't know. It's just honestly, it's just for looks. Um,
Yeah.
let's
I li-
hop into. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. It's all good.
Yeah,
Move
let's
to the
hop
next one.
into like tracers now. Now this is we don't want to
Mhm.
dive deep into this, but what I was saying when I was mentioning the night games, right?
Mhm.
Tracer units are required if you don't have a flashlight, and if you don't have a tracer unit, then you're gonna have a flashlight. Now this is for some night games, right?
Mhm.
And for the coolness of it, tracers are pretty cool using it at the right settings at the right time
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
the right BBs. Got to remember that. Some people don't know that you
Pros
need
and cons.
you need tracer BBs, which also cost a lot of money too. So,
Yeah, they're
um,
not cheap.
yeah. Any one of you use tracers? You want to?
I
Well,
have.
so I have.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we all have, I
We all have.
believe,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like I've ran it once or twice in a night game or such, but like I've gotten uh I've I've distanced myself because I've ran into the problem too much where it's like, look, you can see where you're shooting, but guess what? They can
Yeah.
also see where
They
you're
can also
shooting.
see where you're shooting.
So when you
Oh,
get like 8 people shooting at you because you're the one person that they can all see shooting, it's like it's a volume of fire. That's it.
Yeah.
I will say this. I will say this much about tracers. It's really cool if you can get two teams to use different colors. If you can get
Mm.
Yeah.
one team to use
Yeah.
red and the other to
Yeah.
use green,
Yeah.
it's super cool to
Star
see people
Wars.
engage.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen before, and it's kind of nice because you can kind of identify who's who. And then the blue on blue becomes far less, and your
Hmm.
buddy is less likely to shoot you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
We should do a
Unfortunately, though,
Star
it's
Wars.
it's hard because you don't really see very
hmm
many colored BBs. I guess it's probably cheaper to manufacture just the regular green
Yeah,
fire
it's very
ones.
true. And then if you're looking through night vision at tracers, it's all the same.
Yeah, it's all the same color
Exactly.
unless you have those psionics, which can then distinguish color. But then if
But
you
you
don't,
have
Yeah,
13
yeah,
second
yeah.
lag time.
yeah, 13 second. um, yeah.
It's not that bad, okay?
Nah.
For me,
So,
tracer units for me, I've used it extensively for a lot of like Milsons and stuff. I took some to Milson
hmm
West. I took some to a lot of the Milsons that happen here, especially at night. And yeah, it's one of those things where it's just as a user, it looks cool. As someone
mhm.
who's in my squad, it also looks cool because I'll be like, all right, he's right there. Just follow my tracers, and then everyone can just pinpoint to where I'm shooting, right? So I mean,
Mhm.
that's the added bonus, right? But other than that, cool factor, I'd 100%.
Yeah.
Usefulness, it depends on how you're using it. If you're using it properly, like I'm tagging someone. The beauty of tracer is if I know I'm hitting the guy, I see like tracers bouncing here and there, and then you see the ones that are bouncing back towards me, and then I know it's hitting them because that's
Mhm.
hmm
that's the steel of their weapon, and as well as like their gear, and it'll be like, oh, I know you're hitting you, bud.
Mhm.
And those are the beauty shots of it because you just see all this tracer stuff fly away, as they fade through the night. And
Yeah.
yeah, that it's just cool. I mean, expensive, yes. I like mixing my BBs too, so it looks cool with the
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
green and the
Salt and
red.
pepper.
Yeah, salt and pepper, and yeah. So far, it's one of those fun factors where you don't get to use it, a lot, and when you do, it's hella fun, especially if the other
Mhm.
guy's using it as well.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, we don't get to use it very often because I know a lot of the indoor places use it just because of the lighting that they
hmm
Yeah,
set up and stuff like that, which sets up for a lot of cool environments and a lot of just cool scenarios and stuff like that too, right? And I'm sure we've mentioned this in a couple episodes before or a little while back, but if there's any tracer that I would recommend, at least brand wise, it would be Acetec, just because of the fact
Always.
that
Yeah.
they have a phenomenal warranty. They have a great customer service. They're very responsive. They have a lot of selections on tracer units and stuff like that, so they're not the new kids on the block to per se and stuff like that.
hmm
They got all kinds of different versions and stuff like that. So when you think of like tracer, they're definitely someone that I would point people to, just because you can figure out or find kind of what you need. You know, if you were looking for, like we were talking about, suppressors and stuff like that, you can look for your big chonky hex looking, ones that you can throw on there and stuff like that, or you can get your little mini ones, like pretty much the size of a flash hider. I
Yeah,
think I've
Yeah.
seen
yeah,
some of them as. So
Yeah, they're like the 9 mil. They're like 9 mil pistol tracers.
yeah, exactly. So it can get crazy,
yeah.
and
The only downside to suppressors, since we're talking about suppressors, is the lack of tracer suppressors for guns that for the for the East Block, like a PVS 14, their larger suppressors that they have, or like even larger one like for like an M, like for a
Well,
SR25, right? Like
well,
longer suppressors like that, right?
yeah.
So
The good
it's just
news,
a lack of it because of the fact that the technology you have to put into it has to adapt to another sort of a
yeah.
different, like suppressor type because there's so many out there, right?
Well,
mhm.
the good news is I think Ace Tech has a drop-in version for other
Ooh,
various suppressors that you can install. You can install into the tube so long as the diameter is the
yeah,
same.
yeah.
And then I know
Yes.
LCT and Ace Tech, I believe, are working together on producing AK tracers. So you
Nice.
can have
Oh,
your
that'd be
This
your
is
cool.
510
airsoft
pound tracer.
innovations that we
Yeah.
need.
You're
Yeah,
5'10", but yeah, the one that's like a water bottle.
yeah. Hey man, if
Yeah,
I
pretty much.
put the PSB with a tracer unit inside it, well, I'll rock
Yeah.
that giant can any day.
It's worth the wait, right? Yeah.
Oh
Oh yeah,
man.
I'll put it on a crank, man.
Well,
With no stock at the back. All right.
Oh, you
Scav
already know.
scav
You
runs.
know.
Let's go.
AK pistols now, like.
Oh
So I
man.
started blasting.
So that is another deep dive into another accessory that we all, should consider, for certain games, right? Not all the time, but if you're going for the looks and you're adding that extension to your suppressor and you're going CQB, think
Oh well, and let's not forget too, right? For all those guys who want to do those quick little upgrades and stuff like that for your gun and whatnot, where you
mhm.
take off your flash hider and let's say you want to put a longer inner barrel or whatever, right? The
Oh,
easiest
that
thing
one,
that
yes,
we
yeah.
can say,
Yeah,
right?
suppressor.
So now it's sticking out. Suppressor's your easiest answer to cover that up and stuff like that. So
Cover it up, help protect it. Yeah.
yeah, without having to go through getting a new outer
Outer
barrel and
barrel,
Yeah.
yeah.
all that crap.
All
Yeah, I
right.
just thought I'd throw that in there.
That is another deep dive into another accessory there. Yeah, cool accessories to have. Let's get right into it. Now, a lot of people that get accessories is gonna be um like its cool factor, its usefulness, yes, and a lot of it is for specific games, which is basically night games, getting into NVGs. But we're gonna not try to get into NVGs because that is
Bro,
a
it's for my
beast
day
on its
nots
own.
games, okay?
So next
Well, I mean, we're
attachments.
already 2 hours in. If we
Yeah.
talk about NVGs, we're gonna be
So
here till the morning.
It'll be at
flashlights,
4.
laser units, combos. We're talking about
Mhm.
your pack boxes. We're talking about like what else do you call them?
Illuminators. I
Illuminators,
mean,
laser units.
that's basically what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So is this a must for airsofters? I think we should have done this first because I know this is going to be a long conversation. But is it a must for me? Flashlight, flashlight or flashlight laser
Flashlight's a must.
combo. Yes. Actually, disclaimer before we start. Just to make sure, in Panther we don't allow sort of the class 2 or class 3 lasers to be used, like the red dot lasers to be used on the field. So just be careful with that, and as
Yep.
well as you got to be careful with some of your flashlights, which has the flash settings that they have, like some of them the strobe
Strobe.
settings.
Mhm.
Some of them can cause epileptic seizures for some people, so make sure you ask the referee if there's anybody that has
Mhm.
issues with that. If not, then that's okay. But for private games, feel free, go ahead. Just make sure you don't point it at their head, because it's still like a class 1 laser can still blind you depending on how long you point it at someone's eye and stuff like that. So class 1 laser is basically just regular red dot lasers that everybody has. That's repro.
Yeah.
Moving up to
Should never be
2 and 3 are basically what you get for your actual
military
real
grade.
steel military
Yeah.
grade stuff. So yeah, that's when you crank it up to like the high settings for some of these lasers. So that's a little disclaimer here. But other than that, flashlights,
Yeah.
lasers. What's your guys' opinions? Let's go. So for me, flashlight, way to go. Because if it gets dark in like a ravine area, especially at this time when it's like 4 o'clock, it's already getting dark.
Hmm.
Right? That's something that you should have, especially if you don't want to like step on something. A weapon light in front
Hmm.
of your gun that you can just turn on and then point everywhere.
Mhm.
I would say that's the way to go. Lasers on the other hand, we'll dive into that when we get into the laser unit combos for for the night
Yeah.
stuff. Whoever wants to go.
Okay, well, so yeah, gun light is definitely a must. In a sense, it's more of like it's a want and a need, because you should want to
Hmm.
have a weapon light, and you should also you need it, because like again, yeah, if you get into a dusk situation, or if you're going indoors or anything like that. I know many a times, I've got, so for me, I've got a Phoenix flashlight. It's great. It's like 1,000 lumens, rechargeable. I've got a
Oh my
nice
god.
quick, yeah, like I got a nice quick touchpad with it, where I can either have
Dude,
it
you
like on
didn't
a
even
full
hit him,
on,
but
or
you
it's low.
blinded him. That's what you did.
Well, so many a times I have like just like saved myself in a situation where I can flash someone with my flashlight, and they think they're shooting me, but they're shooting like off to the left, to the right, whatever, because they are just blinded by the light,
Yep.
right? And it also just it can help you sight in a target when you're able to
Hmm.
clearly see where your BBs are flying and stuff. So yeah, a flashlight definitely a must. It's a good thing to have, in my eyes. It's definitely worth it to spend a bit of money. Like my light,
Hmm.
I did not cheap out on. It was like over $200 or something like that, and maybe that's not the most expensive light, but I also didn't buy like some $10 flashlight and tape it to my gun, because I wanted to be able to see. I wanted to be able to be,
Hmm.
and it's durable. Like Phoenix is actually, and it's a real gun light, so it's not like some shitty Wish flashlight or something like that. It's
But it's
that,
Yeah.
and
not a
then
surefire though. We need a surefire here.
well, so I have had those. I've had a Repro Surefire, and then I've also had my hands on like a real Surefire. And yeah, no, if that's something that's within your price point, definitely worth it.
Hmm.
It being a real Surefire, it's definitely more likely to take a lot more real abuse, just because of its level of
Mm.
engineering, or
Yeah.
just the quality of product and everything like that. And then
The
so
light's
that's me
also
on
last longer.
flashlights.
Hmm.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So for me, flashlights, whether it's a primary weapon or it's a secondary like or pistol setting, I believe both of them great stuff. To me, lasers never, unless you are using an infrared laser paired with NVGs. That's the only
Hmm.
time myself I would even talk about lasers. I won't ever even touch visible lasers. I won't like, the movies are the only ones that have made that like cool, because why the fuck are you using a visible laser? Everyone can see you. Why would
Mm.
you do that? Like, that doesn't make sense at all in a tactical situation. So that's me. Sorry, guys.
Whoever wants to go next, go ahead.
I'll let I'll let
Tack.
I'll let Tack go first.
Oh well, just yeah,
Yeah,
but
are we different, bro? Are we different?
I want. Well, so with the flashlights, I think flashlights are a must because
Hmm.
you can't like I'm trying not to think just our setting in the sense, right? Like you want to make yourself versatile, right? You want to make
Yeah.
yourself to be able to play in a lot of places. So in my opinion, if you're serious about getting into airsoft, a flashlight is a must. Getting into the seriousness of the sport, just because you're gonna get into low light situations, and it's always handy to be able to see what you're looking at. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Also, it works as a secondary tracer for anyone who's super poor and can't afford a tracer. Uh,
There you go.
Yeah, try it out
Just
at night
track those
sometimes.
shots, man.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
track
try it
those
out at night
shots,
sometimes.
man.
Yeah, and then with the lights that I've had, I haven't spent too much money on lights. I've had a few good repros that I have personally liked. I can't remember the brand, but I know that the specific repro can be it has versions in the IR version as well as the regular white light and strobe version. So I use the white light and strobe version just because I'm not rocking NVGs and stuff like that. Um, it works great. It's like the switch, the touchpad might be a bad quality, and that just comes with what
Yeah.
it is, stuff like that. But I think at some point, almost all touchpads might come to some sort of deficiency just because of how that whole system works
Are
and
we
stuff like
talking
that.
about repros, or are we talking about like the real ones?
Both, like when you cut them up and you open them up and you look at them, right?
They're the same,
Essentially,
right? Yeah.
it's essentially you're just continuously pressing on something, and if the
Well, it's
you
just
know the connection,
electronics, right?
well,
That's what it comes
Hmm.
down to.
if the connection breaks, then because that's how I've fixed most of mine, is I just open them up and then end up resoldering it most of the time. So that's how I
Yeah.
fix those ones. So with that's with flashlights and stuff like that. When it comes to laser units, sort of same philosophy as Mac. I wouldn't really use it other than when you're using it with NVGs. Although my argument with that is that I would use it sort of in a daylight sense, right? You're not necessarily going to see a laser in the daylight sense, right? Like as unless you're like in a really dusty scenario or something
Mm.
like that, where you can kind of pick up the laser in the light or whatever it is.
Or
But
extreme humidity.
yeah. But I think one of the advantages with the lasers that it encourages sort of body shots or hip fire kind of shots, so that
Mm,
like just
okay.
maybe it's just wishful thinking, but like in my mind, theory wise, is that it would decrease the need for some people to maybe try and shoot someone in the face or whatever it is. Like if
Hmm.
they see the laser pointing at center mass and they're likely to shoot them center mass, there's a higher chance of you hitting that person aiming center mass than there would be anywhere else, especially when it comes to airsoft, right? And
Yeah.
when you get into the really Gucci guns and stuff like that, then you're shooting within like a 2-3 inch hole or whatever it is. So um there's my argument on that. But can trust people to be responsible and stuff like that, maybe in a private game scenario, but
Yeah.
there's just no regulation or standard that you could have to where you could have it in like a public sort of scenario. I would be even hesitant in a competitive situation, just because like the risks that would be related to the
Hmm.
consequences and stuff like that. So um yeah, that's me. If you want to combo it up and stuff like that, you can. That's personal preference and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of like we were all talking about all these other accessories and stuff like that. It's like now we're getting down to this stuff. If we imagine that we put on every single accessory that we've gone down the list, my gun's pretty freaking heavy by now. So
Hmm.
That's what I'm saying. You gotta be
yeah,
mindful.
yeah. So when I come down to it, it's just like yeah, I would keep it slick, simple, and whatever I would
Hmm.
be using it for the day kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll touch on it last. Uh, I I think before you get like a weapon light, you
Hmm.
need to get a headlamp or
Mm,
something you mount on your body.
yep.
Having a red
Mm,
or white light in low vis situations is
Hmm.
particularly good for navigation. I would argue that a weapon light is subsecondary to that. Having that is a great advantage because you can obviously point and shoot, and for the purpose of airsoft, especially for firefights, because that's kind of what you're going into, it makes a lot of sense. But you should also have one that you can kind of navigate with independently from having a very bright lumen light on the end of your weapon,
Yeah.
Hmm.
because you're not
mhm.
always going to be walking the same direction as where the muzzle's pointing, because people get lazy too.
Mm.
And yeah, so in terms of quality, I'll always say like go higher end. Like you'll save your money over the long run. You get
Hmm.
something that's much better. And then with lumens, like try to get one that you can either vary the lumens or go a little bit lower, because like like you up there, Mac, with 1,000 lumens. I've had one of those before, and when you hit a guy with that, it's great. But at the same time, you can also blind yourself from the
Yeah.
Yes,
splashback with it.
I have run into
Yeah,
that. I have run into that with the splashback. Yes.
yeah, and that's like it's the worst damn thing if you're going into
Well,
low
so
light
I actually
fighting.
I have settings on my so
Oh, so you
like
can
yeah, the
set
one
it. Okay.
yes, I can. I've gone and set it to the brightest that I am that guy.
Okay. I,
Um,
I was like, man, you're going straight for the
like I
high
was like, I
beams. Like,
want you to feel the beam. I want you to feel the beam.
My
Like,
face feels
oh,
warm.
then I guess
yeah.
touching on the other aspect of it, which is lam units or like PEX.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I use night vision. I own it, and at the same time, having the advantage, yeah, you want to be able to have that system. Visible
Mhm.
lasers in particular are good on PEX if it's slaved. to an IR laser, and you can preset them ahead of time during the day. And then a caveat to that, like visible lasers in particular, like you can use them in very, very quick close quarter scenarios where you turn a corner and you don't have enough time to come up on sights, sort of
Mm.
like shoulder
To
check and
to
then
sight a web
directly into the
exactly.
target, right? But for the purpose of airsoft, it's a little bit on the sketchy side. I don't trust most people to use a high power or system essentially safely, even if it's like a class one. But if you're like in a private game, sure. And then I guess like for nighttime use, yeah, like IR lasers and IR illuminators make a heck of a lot of sense. But only get them if you actually need them. Like the airsoft packs are the worst
Mm-hmm.
things to buy in terms of cash grab for that kind of thing. It looks super cool, and you can go, hey, check this out. Like this thing has like a visible laser and an IR laser, and then it's just a complete piece of garbage when
Yep.
you try to actually set it and dial it in.
Mhm.
Whereas if you, and in many cases, the other caveat to that is they're not rated, which is really sketchy. And I've had some
Mm.
GMP D balls, and I've tooled around with them in my own apartment. And I kid you not, the amount of power output they do, it lights up the whole hallway like a bloody Christmas tree, and that's on a low power setting. So I think that's one of those things that a lot of people need to kind of steer clear of, unless you're going to downgrade it with a diode on the inside, or use a low
Mhm.
power battery. I'd go with a real one for the sake of just being safe if you can save the
Yeah.
money, because then you know what you're actually using, and you don't run into the issue of essentially completely
Well,
burning
you
someone's
you you
retinas out.
do realize how much a
Yeah,
real D-ball costs too, right?
I do because I have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I
Yeah.
have the what is it, Black Cat or
Hmm.
the um GNP, I believe used to make them. Now it's
Yep.
Black Cat. I have that, and yeah, for what I need it for, which is basically the IR laser. You know, you're paying $450 or $500
Hmm.
premium for just the IR laser alone, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yes, but you know, paying that premium just to see at night so that no one else can see other than night vision users is
Hmm.
one of those things where, first of all, you need to buy an NVG. So
Mhm.
Yeah. Huh.
don't even bother trying to get these expensive units unless you have something that you
Yeah.
like what we have, right, which is basically NVGs, right? So stuff like
Yeah.
that
Once you.
is at the top tier level at that point of
Yeah.
usage.
Well, once you invest in in technology, you need to kind of cater to it in that
Yeah.
essence too, especially when you're talking about like high end tech. These are sort of the things that like make or break an advantage in certain situations. And I mean, heck, I'm looking at buying a Cody, so like the thermal integrated system that you
Mm-hmm.
use on night vision in general,
Mhm.
Oh,
because
I saw your post.
because
Don't worry.
technology's,
I
yeah,
saw your
like that
post. Don't
stuff is
worry.
cool. That stuff is super cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like it's going to cost you a pretty penny. But if you're
Yeah.
dead set on it, yeah, go for the proper stuff, because you really want to eventually get to the point where the system that you have is intended for its purpose. A lot of the repro airsoft sort of stuff in that
It's for
area kind of
looks.
like
It's for looks.
yeah, it's for looks. It can
Yeah.
work functionally too to a degree, but it can miss the mark as well. And I'm always hesitant of like airsoft IR lasers and IR
Mhm.
illuminators. I really don't trust them in terms of the safety of how much power those things are outputting. And
Mhm.
the funny thing is, with IR airsoft lasers, they can be really bloody powerful, and you can burn someone eye out and they wouldn't even know it. And that's really scary. Like that's not something I really want to dabble into, because your eyesight is one of those things that's not fun to lose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If there was one thing they could sort of look into regulating, definitely the safety factors on some of those things would be
Oh
nice.
God,
But
yeah.
you
Hmm.
know, at least then we wouldn't have
It's
to have that
it's a
like
small
you have to be so.
percentage of airsoft users that use it though, so they're taking the
Yeah,
risk. That's the
but I mean,
thing.
at the same time too, like we don't see as much night vision use in Canada as our neighbors to the south in the states do.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's just one of those things. Like I always like to think like if I'm on the receiving end of something, I want to know that the person that's
Mm-hmm.
pointing it at me is also conscious about it,
Yeah.
versus the dudes that are like, "Hey, this is cool," and they point it at Buddy's face. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, just
what are
gotta
you
make
doing?
sure
You
they're
know?
not using like class freaking 4 lasers that are
Hmm.
like what is it, like 1.5 watts or something.
Yeah, that stuff's dangerous.
Yeah.
That stuff's super dangerous. It
That's like
can burn your skin.
1600 milliwatt
Mhm.
plus or something like that. Yeah, that's yeah, you don't want to be hit with some sort of invisible laser that you don't know that someone's pointing at you unless you're using NVGs, right? Then, if you're
Yeah.
using
Hmm.
NVGs, you'd be like, "Hey, fudge off,"
Yeah.
But
Even
yeah,
that, it damages NVG units too.
yeah,
So
it
that's how
Yeah,
you
does.
get like
Yeah,
blems in
yeah,
them.
call you
blems. Yeah,
blems and
you get
stuff.
your
Hmm.
after images.
Which, by the way, disclaimer for MVG owners, you can't get mad because that's what you're
Nope.
getting into.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're not talking about NVGs though, guys.
No,
Nope,
we'll do that
nope.
another
Yeah,
time.
we'll do that
Forget
another
about the
time because
yeah.
it is one of those things where you just dive into a rabbit hole and also dive into a deep pocket that you're not never gonna get out of.
Yeah,
Let's
it's
compare
about
Yeah.
MVGs.
Mom, pick me up.
Whoa.
Night game's done. Pick me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, laser units. You could go as expensive as what David has, which is basically an actual D-ball. You could go something that I have, which is basically a Repo sort of airsoft use. A lot of firearms users use it, but they wouldn't trust it either, which is basically like a $500 unit. GNP, or was it GNP, or forgot.
Black Cat.
Black Cat, yeah. Sorry, mine's Black Cat, but there's ones that are revolving out there with GMP. Or
Hmm.
is it GMP? I keep forgetting who makes it, but yeah, Black Cat. There's a lot out there that's repro, but they're priced at a pretty high price tag. So yeah, just read it carefully. If you are buying the $300 one, it's basically just red only, like red
Hmm.
laser only, and they do have a high setting, which is also dangerous as well. So just be careful with those. And then you get up to the $500 levels, then you're getting into IR stuff, and you're paying extra for
Hmm.
that, even though you don't have NVGs. So um, a lot of this stuff you could get like you could get either real steel or you could get sort of repro.
Hmm.
We just talked about pros and cons on each one. As far as like flashlights and laser units go, like should people just buy like a cheap repro flashlight to begin with, or should they just like dive into like the expensive like X300s or something like that, just so
Yeah,
that they
well,
save money and in the long run? Because it's one of those things where should they, or should they
yeah.
shouldn't.
I think with like flashlights, you can actually just dive straight into real ones because they really aren't that expensive if you're really
mm,
looking at the cost. And the funny thing is, like airsoft flashlights, like the high end ones, are actually getting up to being half the price or close to like three quarters in some cases. So at that point, like, why are you buying something that's knocked off and you can go buy the real one just down the street?
exactly.
And the quality is a heck of a lot better for what you get out of it too. And like one thing that I don't think we really touched on it with like flashlights is a lot of people don't realize the real LED systems that are used in it actually have like what is it, a solenoid essentially to mitigate how much power goes through it. A lot of the airsoft ones don't.
Yeah.
So you can burn out the bulbs a lot faster in them, and they don't offer replacements for some of them. And that's like 200, in some cases like 150 to 200 bucks. You just basically spent off very quickly. And yeah, you can go get another one, or you can just save your money and go get a real one, and it'll last you years if it's
Yeah.
built by a proper
So
manufacturer.
I'm looking at some of the listings here. So like a weapon light that you could just attach to your airsoft gun. It's roughly about 80 to like 90 to like $100, somewhere
Hmm.
around there. Just a laser combo alone is like you're starting at like 119 or something like that. And then some of the expensive ones are like the good ones that are actually used in real weapons that are repro for real world firearms are like starting at 240 or $200. So you see the
Hmm.
price difference there. You pay for two, you're basically getting just a repro gun version of it or real steel version of it. You might as well just buy that because that's rated for real steel.
Hmm.
And then for like laser unit combos as well, it's going to be the same thing. It's like, well, you could get the repro airsoft version. That's like $300 versus like 150, where you're spending like you're just going for the looks at that point.
Hmm.
And there's a flashlight and laser, but you don't know how good they are. Versus the ones
Yeah.
that are like people are raving about, like a $350 like D-ball or something like that everybody like in the airsoft world uses. It's half the price of, or it's not half, sorry, it's double the
No,
price
it's not
of,
even.
it's double the price of of the repro ones, right? So
Yeah.
but and then you move up to David's world there, which is like, what is it, like 5 times the price or something like that? Or no, not 5 times,
No,
like 4 times, isn't it?
I mean, it's funny because like the Hollow Sun is kind of like the very like bottom tier for
Yeah.
like high quality real products you can buy. Their pecs are just sitting at like 700
Yeah,
to 1,000 to
which
1,200
is
roughly,
which
and
is
that's
not
for like a
bad. Which is not
no
bad
for like a
for
quality pack.
for
And I mean,
for for
I'm
real
itching.
steel world, anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm itching on getting a Steiner, which is going to cost me close to 1,500. But the
Yep.
reason why is
Yeah.
it's a class 1 laser, which is safe, technically speaking, for
Yep.
use, and they're rated for what you call like a civilian level, but it's a military grade built system.
Yep.
And the whole reason why is I care about the person on the other end. I don't want to run into the issue of potentially blinding people right off the bat,
Mhm,
and it's
mhm.
just better to use something that's rated for that type of thing, that's safer essentially, versus using something that you can kind of run into that gray zone. And for airsoft, like I get it, you can get away with it, but I care more about safety, so I'm willing to pay to eat the cost just to make sure that someone on the other end isn't getting bummed up. It's also nice to have too. So
Mhm.
there's that.
Yeah. So there's your pick there. Flashlights are the cheapest way to go. You know, you're
Hmm.
looking at $100 just for airsoft alone. It usually comes with some sort of switch as well, so that's always good to have. I usually just tape the switch on my end because I'm
Oh yeah.
too lazy to find adapters for it, or real adapters for it, whatever. Then move up to like things like laser units, or labor, combo units like a D-ball or something like that. Then you're getting to expensive price. If you're going for looks, then you're looking at something like PEC 15 or something like that. If you're looking for that mid 2000s Iraq look, yeah, those are cool to have. Then maybe just do a dummy one with the battery with the battery storage on it.
Yeah, it's never a bad option
Yeah.
if especially for looks, man. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but don't expect anything out of it. Really, is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're getting what you
exactly.
pay for, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Um.
Pay to play, baby.
Yeah.
that's airsoft.
Another one to mention too is there has been a lot of laser units that came out of Russia as well that are you
Mm,
know how hard it is to get like actual D balls in civilian hands and stuff like that. There has been a lot of sort of real steel real use actually in Russia, which is like the pressed, or I forgot what
yeah.
the press systems like, or the Zenko stuff. Yeah, they're just coming out of Russia and can be shipped over here, no problem. They're IR rated as well. I don't know what laser class they're under because I think Russia has a different classification for it. But
Yeah, that's
they are allowed to be used. I know a few people that have them here, and
mhm.
they could get to a pretty good range, the same price as like a Hollow Sun, but you get
Mhm.
military grade stuff. So there's
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
just
people that I've seen have that.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna buy that kind of stuff, just be very cognizant that if it's actual military grade tech with the output and everything, you're talking about something that's really bloody powerful.
Mhm.
And for the
Mhm.
purposes of like training, yeah, I get it. But if you're gonna use it on like the two-way range in airsoft, be very cognizant of how you're using that kind of thing, because it's almost
100%.
like playing in the danger zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those things that, again, like, at least I mean, I care about it, but I don't know how many other people really do. But when it comes to like infrared and things like that, because it's such a powerful spectrum too, and you can't physically see it, it can be very dangerous too in terms of people doing malicious type of things. So just be cognizant if you're going to go buy like high end stuff like that, or stuff that isn't regulated to the same or sorry, rated to the same degree. Yeah, especially for like players out there who are dabbling into the world of night vision and all that. Do a lot of homework and research first. It's very important. I'll say that much.
Yep. It's a huge price to pay, especially when you're diving into flashlights and stuff. But we're
Hmm.
not diving into NVGs. But I think we've just about covered everything here.
Yeah.
You guys have any sort of cool gadgets you think, or whatever attachments that you can think of that that's nice to have on like an attachment on a gun and stuff? Because we just added charms at the
Mhm.
very beginning. We were just talking about that. What else? What else do you
Oh
guys think?
God.
Uh, so I have one just in case no one else has something.
Go ahead.
But it's not gun related. I really wish we could get a push for the mines idea to come back. I really
Mm.
liked the whole any mine kind of design, the whole bouncing airsoft bouncing Betty,
Hmm.
and I really liked the claymore design and
Mm.
stuff like that. So I would really love to see like more kind of like innate traps or something like that that could be set up, because like those I get their accessories, their secondary things. Like, I'm definitely not going to be going out and like hunting down for a claymore kill or something, but it'd be pretty cool. So
Oh, I guess this is not gun related attachments. Then this is
He
unless
well, I
he
was just
did
unless
saying
say
unless you
airsoft
unless
guns.
you put the claymore in front of your
Yeah,
gun.
yeah.
I will
fuck.
mount it on my head, and then when I'm bore shooting, I'm ready.
Oh my god.
Just have that little
Uh,
trigger on your
so
rail.
There you go.
cool accessories. I would say a rangefinder or scope or something
Mm.
like that, or some kind of digital kind of thing. That's always a cool unit that you can add, especially for guys who want to push the limits and test things out with their airsoft gun, and who want to have like a tangible sort of information that they can kind of use and stuff like that.
So much
Uh,
more crippling disappointment when you find out your gun doesn't shoot as far as you think it does.
Yeah, it's
uh,
still
well,
like
500
shoot
feet. I could
500
shoot
feet,
that.
bro.
which just the age old the problem that everyone has a
Yeah,
idea of how big things are. It's just like, oh yeah, I think I'm shooting 300 feet.
that
100.
300 feet drops 50 feet short all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. So suddenly
Yeah.
it's 175 feet, and you're like, oh,
There,
oh.
there,
Pretty
there,
sus.
there are scopes like that that has the
Hmm.
rangefinders on them. So
That's
I
true.
mean,
Mhm.
if you pay for the expensive, like what is it, like sight
Yeah.
marks or
Yeah.
not aim. There's ones that are like if you put the expensive hunter one, which auto aims for you and stuff, that'll be if you could
Smart scopes.
smart scopes. Yeah,
Smart
Yeah.
if you could so if someone can set that for BB weights.
Yeah.
Can we just not? Can we
That'd
not?
be
You know how bad that would be? That would be for you
innovation,
just sitting,
David. Innovation.
Oh my god! I mean, it's innovative, but you'd be sitting there on your sniper rifle waiting for it to align because the wind is blowing with two
No.
cross breezes.
The scope is already off because it's looking straight, but your aim module is like all the way down at the bottom of the screen.
Please choreograph your gun up by 30 degrees. You can no longer
What?
Yeah,
see the target
exactly.
anymore.
Yeah. It's like, don't worry. I know I'm gonna hit him. The ballistics on this are on
Oh
point.
It's
my
100%,
goodness. Yeah.
60% of the time.
Yeah, I mean
Like
Oh,
that'll be
after that,
cool.
after that, guys, I need to see like corner barrels. Like I need to see 90-degree
oh,
barrels so I can make
thank you,
corner
thank
shots.
you.
Mhm.
I was about to nail that one on the head because I was gonna say a cool gadget would be either a corner shot. It'd be
Like
cool
what
to
the
buy the real
Israelis
one,
have.
put an air, yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
buy the real one, put an actual airsoft block in it, and then use it. But I mean, do you want to spend 5 grand basically to shoot a dude around a corner with
Mhm.
with the little tat
Well,
on the end of it? I mean, it'd be
technically,
sweet.
it'd be sweet and it'd be okay because Elliot said that technically you're still looking down
It does
sights.
count as looking down the sights. Um,
Ah,
I would like that, and I wouldn't mind another one where you have like a refractorial mirror behind your optic that you can basically stick the gun around a corner. You can
Mhm.
see through this sight and look down and see
actually,
things. I think that stuff's cool.
I think
Yeah.
Elliot made a point on that where if someone had a refractal sight like that, and he
Yeah.
said no to that because that is still blind firing. Corner shots are blind firing to
Oh.
that. So I don't know. It's
But what
kind of
if I have a
50-50.
periscope?
If it's
Technically,
a
you're looking
Rule
down
number
TV3,
one
it's
sight.
here. If
legit.
I'm technically looking
And then
down sight, I have a
you have your
periscope.
sniper rifle mounted at the top there, and you're just like moving it around, and oh, there
Oh,
he is, trench
Hold,
warfare.
hold,
Yeah,
hold
yeah.
on, guys. Is this Iraq now? Are we using the third person? Like, get out. Stop.
I got one more to throw in there, and it is not gun related, but Kicking Mustang did put up a cool video. Can we please get RCXDs mass produced in airsoft?
There
RCXD.
is
Please.
someone I know at the field actually working on. Kai is one person that I know who
For the
talked about.
band bros, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's working on one. There's also another kid that is always been bringing it up. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but I remember your face. But
Hmm.
he's been talking about it excitedly for the last I guess
Bad
Or
customer rep.
COVID.
Bad customer rep.
Yeah.
can we in a gun related moment, can we build a Wilson, one with an actual machine gun and a grenade launcher on it, and then you just drive that around basically and engage
Yes.
guys with it?
Yes. 100%.
That
I
would
would
that
do
would
this.
be that would be awesome. And the only way to disable it would be to
OP.
like hit it with a rocket launcher.
Have it all set up with FTV so that you're
Yes.
one with the one with the machine.
Well, I mean, we have what is it? We have VR systems now,
Yeah.
and they're so mass
Yeah,
produced. You could do it.
Yep. Yep.
no, exactly. We just got to get that Wi-Fi booster.
No, Cyberpunk quick hacks. Cyberpunk quick
Yeah,
hacks. We gotta go.
Just jack into the
Just
network.
jacking.
Oh my God.
But yeah, no, other than that, I can't really think of, cool, like I can, but it's just like that gets into like 3D printing and stuff. And honestly,
Yeah.
I'd like to sort of save that for another episode just because you can get down into a whole different
Yeah.
kind of
Well, that's
rabbit hole.
and you got to be careful because of how gray that area is. So, like,
It's
you
not
know,
it's not
mind
gray at
you,
all. We're not the States. We're not making 80% lowers. What are you talking about?
it's
This
a
is my
gray
coat.
area,
This is
dude,
my
okay?
coat hanger. Damn you, my coat hanger.
Again, you can hang all of your coats in that gray area, okay? But
You sure
yeah, you
your
gotta
fuel
be
filter's okay there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think we just about covered all the stuff that you could get for just your airsoft gun accessories here. We dove into a lot of these stuff pretty deep. Hopefully, our audience got plenty of info out of that because that is a lot of info there. By the way, thank you, David or Schoolboy Airsoft, for coming out and like
Happy.
putting your 2 cents on all of these because we could blab on even longer here, but I think we've reached our 2-hour mark already. So
Yeah, we nailed it.
yeah, we nailed it.
And surpassed it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks again because if it's just me, Mac Attack, just going with our experience, it's great to have your experience here too because you review a lot of these a lot of the tech products that come out. Especially for, you sacrifice your money to purchase something that is so expensive or, something that's technology that's that's revolutionary, but it's actually ridiculous. You just dive into it right away. We could find you on your blog. Where can we find you if people are looking?
So if you want to find me on my website, it's schoolboyairsoft.com. You can find me on Instagram. It's Schoolboy Airsoft, and then you can find me on Facebook. It's Schoolboy Airsoft.
Yeah,
So it's pretty simple.
You go
Yeah,
you go pretty deep on your Instagram stories as well as your blog post on a lot of things that you've noticed that companies do, or just things that bother you, and then you just tell them how to fix it and stuff. I hope they listen to it, but
Yeah,
it's just you go deep into it.
Yeah, it's good to do that. I like doing it, and I hope that people find what I discover and gain some knowledge out of it. It's really more or less at my expense, so to speak. But at the same time, I'm a huge nerd, so I like understanding things, which is kind of important. And airsoft has a lot of myth and sort of lore around a lot of gun companies and stuff like that. And a lot of people don't really realize until you crack it open. It's like the idea of the TM fairy dust. TM does everything great, but once you touch them and you do something to them, changes, man. Like it's the engineering that goes in. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to dive down into that. But yeah, I mean, if any of you out there who are listening, you want to find me, it's just schoolboyairsoft.com or Facebook or Instagram. Shoot me a message or talk to me. I'm very conversational, and I get real deep into things very quickly. As
Yeah.
you could probably tell.
No,
Yeah.
no, you could go off topic pretty well with a lot of airsoft related things. Yeah, thank you very much for coming out, and yeah, we'll have you in on another episode for sure. We like your input on a lot of things.
We'd love to have you back, and we'd also love to have you back maybe with another guest as well. Like have a
Absolutely.
little bit of a I guess a rectangular table. We don't really have a round table.
Rectangular table.
Yeah, I apologize on that. So
You want to start calling it the Pentagon talk?
oh
Oh.
no.
Oh my god.
So with that, guys, that's episode 27 of
Yep.
Panther Airsoft folding tabletop.
And
Just
just to just to interrupt here. Yeah, if you're looking for a perfect Christmas present because it is Christmas coming up soon, and you are very last minute, if you or your loved one sort of goes, or your son or your daughter goes to Panther a lot, and you're looking for something to give them, hey, get them a
Oh God,
Panther Airsoft
yes.
Black membership.
Oh boy, that was just such a good commercial. Clip that right there. I love that. That was so good.
But
So good.
no, honestly,
Like, hey, are
guys,
you and
if
your
if
loved one
if
looking
if
for a gift?
if if they go to Panther, twice a week, right? Like Saturday and Sunday, and that costs them what, like $35 per entry, right?
Basically, yeah.
Look no further than getting a Panther Airsoft Black membership. It takes about 18 entries for it to pay off, and then the rest of your year is basically free. And if there's any
Exactly.
events or anything that happens, hopefully something, this COVID stuff goes away and we get events back. Their events are, I believe it's only like half off or something like that for entry. So yeah, look it up. Panther Airsoft
Worth
Black
it.
membership, worth it, and you get a lot more perks on that membership. So look it up on the website there. And it's one of those things where if you just email, Panther Airsoft, they can get it for you pretty quick, and then you could just print out a thing saying, "Hey, you have 1 year's worth of play at Panther," and then I'm sure they're gonna love you like crazy because they're gonna leave you on a Saturday and Sunday and play there all weekend, like most of our patrons do. There you go, and hit up your girlfriend to purchase a Panther Airsoft Black membership. Clip them or send them this part of the video. And they all know. All right, that is it. Again, thank you, David, for coming by. SchoolBoy Airsoft. Thank you,
Pleasure.
Mac, for coming by, and Tack, and thank myself, I guess. I don't know. And yeah,
Thanks, boy.
it's
Thank you,
gonna
boy, for
be
hosting.
Christmas next week, and I hope everybody has a great week. And it's gonna be hectic for sure. Say go meet your loved ones. Stay at home. Uh, do all the COVID restrictions. Let's try and beat this and have a happy 2021 coming up. All right, that is it.
Beautiful. Oh my God, I
Oh.
couldn't have said it better.
Whew,
All right,
good.
that is it for you guys. All right, and let's say peace, guys. See ya.
All right, have a good night, everybody.